Chapter 902. Talk to you, of course. These people also had the highest salary. Yundong trusted the Zheng couple the most, so they were in charge of this. Although Madame Dong had a soft personality, Zheng who had some talent in management. He would be tough or soft when he needed to be. Therefore, the Zheng couple's monthly salary was already 4 taels of silver. It was said that after the new year, the couple planned to send Zheng Lu to a private school. Now Yinshu, Yuanji Nyodan, and the Zheng family were all studying in school. Zheng Yu had been learning embroidery from Shen Sitian recently. Hence, Zheng Lu was often the only one at home. In the past, the Zheng family was poor and lived far away. The 3 children of the Zheng family were sensible enough to help the family work and rarely went out to play with the other children. As a result, Zheng Lu had almost no friends in the village who were on good terms with him. Now he could go out to play. However, as he played, he came back covered in mud and dirty. He went up the mountains and down the river like a wild monkey. Every time Madame Dong looked at him, and then at her eldest son, who had returned from the private school, she felt very vexed. She thought that he should indeed study. Apart from this, the Zheng family also planned to rebuild their house. Yundong was naturally happy for them. When they first came to Yongfu village, the Zheng family had shown them kindness. Now she had repaid them. The others in the village were extremely envious. Some of them regretted even more. If only Yundong had stayed in their house back then, perhaps they would have been the ones to build a new house today. There were even people who laughed at Madame Fong and her daughter. Look, they didn't seize such a good opportunity back then, and even chased them out. In the end, the Zheng family rose step by step, but Madame Fong and her daughter cut ties with the village chief's family. Yundong had heard these rumors occasionally. This was exactly what she wanted. She wanted everyone to understand that if they followed her, they would have food to eat, a new house to live in, and a good life. If they insisted on finding trouble with her, they would have to consider the consequences. After looking at the sugar area, Yundong went to the dormitories at the back. It seemed that 1/3 of the dormitories had already been occupied. It looked a little lively. It was already noon by the time she finished checking the workshop. Tongan woke up much earlier than Doctor He had said. He woke up not long after noon. Dr. He examined him and nodded to confirm that he was fine. As long as you recuperate well, there won't be a big problem. Dr. He left the medicine and instructed them to take note of things. The next day he returned to the prefectural city. It was Xiaoqing Yuan who sent him back. He also went to the prefectural city to report to Gu Dajiang and the others. Then he continued to study the problem of cowpox. Yundong stayed behind. After Tongan recuperated for 2 days and became a little more energetic, she went to find him. Tongan was lying on the bed and reading a book. Now that he could read, he had nothing to do while he was recuperating, so he read to pass the time. When he saw Yundong enter, he quickly straightened his body. "Miss, why are you here? Don't move. I just want to talk to you." Tongan didn't understand. "Miss, if there's anything you need, just tell me." Yundong pulled a stool and sat down beside him. "It's about this matter. I want to thank you. It's all thanks to you a few days ago. If you hadn't saved Yinshu, that pair of scissors would have pierced into him. He might not even have been able to keep his life." Chapter 903. Tong An's thoughts. Tongan was terrified and hurriedly said, "Miss, what are you saying? I'm a servant of the Gu family. It's my duty to protect my master. Not to mention that I'm fine now. Even if I really die, it's my fate. It's not worth Miss thanking me. Moreover, I've been recuperating these few days. Young master and young master often visit me and bought a lot of things. I'm already very touched." Tong An's words were not fake at all. He really thought so. He had been a servant since he was young and had served the young master in the previous master's house. They had never treated servants as humans. The servants' lives had never been up to them. When the Tong family arrived at the Gu family, they were really nervous at first. However, the young masters and mistresses of the Gu family treated them extremely well, and had never beaten or scolded them. They did not mind that he was clumsy with his words and let him read and become the manager of the workshop. Tongan had always felt that he would never be able to repay Miss for her trust. He wished he could dig out his heart and give it all to the Gu family. This time, He was even willing to block the scissors for his young master. Thinking that he would finally be useful, he did not regret it at all. In fact, he was happy to be able to save his young master. Gu Yundong believed him, but no matter what, you've made a great contribution. You have to be rewarded. Gu Yundong said, You can tell me directly what reward you want. I don't need it. Tongan blurted out without even thinking. Young miss and young master treat us well and value us so much. It's already the best reward for us. Gu Yundong was speechless. She had a headache. She used to think that Tongan was quite honest, but she didn't expect him to be so honest. She paused and reminded him. Actually, you can think about it again. For example, if you plan to get married and have children, I can help you. Or if you're missing something, you can mention it. No need. I don't plan to get married again in this life. I don't lack anything. The Gu family has everything and I have such a high monthly salary. I can buy anything I want. Gu Yundong frowned. Judging from his resolute tone, did he really not intend to get married again? Could it be that he had no feelings for Chen Sitian? Gu Yundong's head hurt even more. She looked at Tongan carefully for a moment. Indeed, she did not see any embarrassment on his face. She sighed silently in her heart. Then save it first. When you think of it, we'll settle it together. Gu Yundong stood up. Rest well first. I'm leaving. She went out the door, puzzled. What should she do if her brain wasn't enough? What was going on with these two? She wondered if she should ask Chen Sitian for her opinion, but in the following days, Chen Sitian did not take a step closer to Tong An's room. It was as if on that day when Tongan was unconscious, the scene of her holding Tong An's hand and crying was just Gu Yundong's imagination. What were these two doing? Gu Yundong went straight to Chen Sitian and asked her what had happened that day. Chen Sitian shook her head and said, I was just shocked that day. Gu Yundong would be a fool to believe her. Tell me honestly, have you taken a fancy to Tongan? Did you tell him? Yundong, I don't plan to get married again in this life. You know what I've experienced in the past, and I can't tell anyone about it. I just want to build a house next to this place after I save enough money. I might adopt a child in the future, and that will be all for the rest of my life. Chapter 904. Everyone is back. Gu Yundong did not agree with her negative thoughts, but she could not even figure out her own feelings, let alone others giving her suggestions. Annoying. Forget it. Anyway, there's no hurry. Perhaps you'll change your mind in the future. Gu Yundong guessed that she might not have gotten over Gu Gang's matter, so she could not force her. Anyway, I'm always here when you need me. Yes, thank you. Chen Sitian smiled very easily. It's my greatest blessing to have you as my friend. Gu Yundong did not interfere in this matter anymore. She would let nature take its course. She was very busy for the next few days. Tongan was recuperating, Xiao Qingyuan was looking for a way to treat smallpox, and Gu Yundong had to manage the workshop. She also took the time to buy dozens of acres of orchard. The Sure couple was very experienced in cultivating fruit forests, but they were indeed lacking in management. Gu Yundong began to place Zhao Zhu in an important position. Zhao Zhu was quite bold. He helped Gu Yundong recruit some farmers to take care of the fruit forest. In addition, his son was becoming more and more reliable. Now his life was getting better and better. Of the 4 hooligans who had come to Gu Yundong's house to steal money, other than Liang who had broken his leg and stayed at home all day crying and tormenting his parents, all were already working for Gu Yundong. This made Liang's mother, Jin Yuexiang, feel unbalanced. She often badmouthed Gu Yundong in the village. Unfortunately, more than half of the people in Yongfu village were working in Gu Yundong's workshop or orchard. Naturally, they would not listen to her. Even if they did not work for the Gu family, they hoped that they would be chosen one day. How could they help Jin Yuexiang frame the Gu family? On the contrary, the Hu family became even more unpopular in the village. The days passed by in a flash. During this period, the workshop sent goods to the prefectural city a few more times, and even brought Gu Dajiang's letter. He only asked her about her daily life and didn't know about Yunshu. Master Weiss' case had already ended. The news Qin Wenzheng gave her said that he had been sentenced to a place thousands of kilometers away. She busied herself until the end of the month, And it was finally Gu Yundong's coming-of-age ceremony. She had even forgotten about this day. Unexpectedly one day, her parents, sister, eldest aunt, and Aunt Ku returned. Only then did she suddenly remember that this was an especially important day for her. Eldest uncle did not follow them back. His leg had only been treated for a month, and Dr. Xiong had instructed him not to move around. He could not sit in the carriage, so he could only regretfully stay in the prefectural city. Lu Sheng and Auntie Niu were still in the small courtyard, so they could take care of him. But he prepared a coming-of-age gift for you. Gu Dafeng handed her a wooden sculpture. It was a wooden carving of a screen. It was not complicated, but it was very detailed and beautiful. It could be seen that uncle had put in a lot of effort when carving it. I love it, thank you. There were still 2 days before her coming-of-age ceremony. In the afternoon, Xiao Qingyuan returned. However, even though he looked normal, Gu Yundong keenly noticed that he looked haggard and was in a bad mood. What was going on? Was there a problem with the cowpox vaccination method? Gu Yundong immediately became nervous. While her parents were not paying attention, she quickly pulled him aside and asked, "Did it not go well?" Xiao Qingyuan heaved a sigh of relief. "No, it went very smoothly. I've already succeeded in one case." Gu Yundong was delighted. "Really? You really succeeded? Isn't that great? Why do you look so pale?" With how much Xiao Qingyuan valued this matter, he should be happy. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 905. Surprised Qin Wenjing. Xiao Qingyuan was indeed happy, but he was also a little angry. Do you know who the successful one is? Gu Yundong frowned and shook her head. Xiao Qingyuan said, Zhou. Gu Yundong's eyes widened. He got infected? Did he agree to it? It's not just that. Xiao Qingyuan sneered. He got cowpox himself. After he recovered, he got smallpox. Gu Yundong was speechless. Although she knew that the cowpox vaccination method was correct, Zhou did not know. No one could guarantee that such an unprecedented experiment would be foolproof. Wasn't he too bold? Xiao Qingyuan also felt that Zhou was bold. He had originally planned to come back a few days earlier. However, now that something like this had happened to Zhou, Xiao Qingyuan couldn't leave. He had to stay and take care of him, lest he really courted death. He only returned after confirming that Zhou had completely recovered. However, after taking care of him day and night for a few days, Xiao Qingyuan's expression finally didn't look good. He told Gu Yundong about Zhou's family. Only then did Gu Yundong understand why he would do this. How should he put it? One was Zhou's trust in Xiao Qingyuan, and the other was to unlock one of his obsessions. Xiao Qingyuan rubbed his temples. Seeing that he was really tired, Gu Yundong hurriedly chased him to rest. Go home and have a good sleep first. My coming-of-age ceremony is still 2 days away. When you're done resting, we'll go to the county city tomorrow and talk to Qin Wenzheng about your important achievement. Xiao Qingyuan was stunned. Tomorrow? We only succeeded once. It's not enough. That's enough. We can report this matter to the emperor first. Besides, the emperor will definitely verify it. They will also arrange for the imperial physicians to repeatedly confirm this method. Xiao Qingyuan narrowed his eyes. She was in such a hurry. Is there any news from Qin Wenzheng? Gu Yundong knew that she could not hide it from him. Yes, when I went to the county yesterday, I heard from Qin Wenzheng that the situation was a little serious. All right, let's go to the county tomorrow. Seeing that he agreed, Gu Yundong hurried him back to rest. The next morning, Gu Yundong and Xiao Qingyuan rushed to the county city. The county city was still very lively. The two of them first sent Niu Dan to Dongyi Academy, then brought Yunshu and Yuanji to Qin Wenzheng's school. After sending the two of them to the lecture hall, Gu Yundong and Xiao Qingyuan went straight to Qin Wenzheng's study. Qin Wenzheng was a little surprised to see the two of them. Why are you here so early? Xiao Qingyuan did not speak. Gu Yundong took a step forward, coughed lightly, and looked a little mysterious. We brought you good news. Is there any bad news after the good news? Qin Wenzheng asked with a smile. Gu Yundong shook her head. No. Then I'm relieved. Tell me, what's the good news? This time, he was quite hospitable. He served tea to both of them, and sat down at the side. You're used to being mysterious. Don't fool me with gossip. Gu Yundong snorted. When did I fool you with gossip? Do the math yourself. White sugar is great news, right? Last time about the Tao family it was also great news, right? Which time didn't I surprise you? Qin Wenzheng thought about it. Heh, in that case it was true. He was instantly interested. Then tell me, what surprise did you bring me this time? Could it be that you have a recipe for green sugar or blue sugar again? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 906. The Tao family found third young master. Gu Yundong was speechless. Your imagination is too poor and narrow. Alright, go ahead. Listen. Master Qin, do you know about smallpox? Qin Wenzheng frowned. Hearing this word, he was not in a good mood. I know. Smallpox is a very terrifying and fast-infecting plague. Since ancient times, countless people have died from smallpox. 2 young geniuses from the previous dynasty died because of it. It's a huge pity. Even the royal family can't avoid it. There's no medicine to treat it until now. As Qin Wenzheng spoke, he sighed and was puzzled. Why are you asking this? Could it be that the surprise you mentioned is related to smallpox? He paused and suddenly thought of something. Could it be that you have a way to treat smallpox? Gu Yundong was expressionless. No. Qin Wenzheng was instantly disappointed. Then why are you saying this? Unless you tell me that there's a treatment method, it's not a surprise to me. The corners of Gu Yundong's mouth twitched. Your request just now was not so harsh. I don't have a cure, but I have a way to prevent it. Qin Wenzheng was stunned. Prevention? You mean the humanpox vaccination method? Yundong, this is not novel. Someone has already used this method. I'm not referring to the humanpox vaccination method. Of course, I know that this method has been used for a long time, and the failure rate is extremely high. I'm referring to a new method, the kind that is foolproof. Qin Wenzheng was shocked, and turned to look at her. Is what you said true? That's a surprise, isn't it? Qin Wenzheng finally sat up straight with a serious expression. Tell me in detail. What makes you so sure that your method will be foolproof? Have you tried it? Gu Yundong looked at Xiao Qingyuan. My brother Xiao discovered this method. You should ask him to explain it to you. But let me make it clear first. You have to report this matter to the emperor truthfully, and let him know that my brother Xiao has made a great contribution that's worth a death exemption medallion. He can't be implicated because of the Tao family. Qin Wenzheng. He lowered his head slightly. From an angle that the two of them could not see, a strange expression flashed across his face. However, when he raised his head, he became nonchalant again. Of course. Tell me, I promise to report it truthfully. Gu Yundong took 2 steps back, and let Xiao Qingyuan speak. Seeing that the two of them might talk for a long time, she simply left the school. I'm going to the street to buy some things. Qin Wenzheng waved his hand, looking like he was burning the bridge after crossing it. Gu Yundong snorted coldly. Anyway, the credit was already set in stone, so she could rest assured. After leaving the school, Gu Yundong walked towards the busy street. However, just as she reached the entrance of the street, someone suddenly ran over. Yundong, Yundong, it's really you. I was just about to go to Yongfu village to look for you. Gu Yundong looked up, and saw that Lu Wei was panting and blushing from running. He rushed to her excitedly. Gu Yundong immediately took 2 steps back and distanced herself from him. Why are you looking for me? I have great news for you. Lu Wei's eyes were shining, and it was obvious that he was gloating. You have news too? Gu Yundong raised her eyebrows. Tell me. Let me tell you. The Tao family's eldest young master, Tao Feng, has found his biological brother, the 3rd young master Tao, who was sent out since he was young. Gu Yundong. Who are you talking about? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 907. Third young master Tao is someone else. Gu Yundong felt that she must have been hallucinating. She tugged at her ears and asked again. What did you just say? Who found who? Lu Wei said proudly. Tao Feng, the big brother of Tao Xing, who is always jumping up and down and not doing anything serious except deliberately opposing me, suffers the consequences of his own actions. He found the third young master of the Tao family. Oh, right, you might not know that the Tao family still has the third young master. He quickly cleared his throat and tried his best to share the gossip with her. Let me tell you, the Tao family originally had 3 sons. Tao Feng was the eldest. He and third brother were born by Master Tao's first wife. Tao Xing was born by the current Mrs. Tao. Mrs. Tao used to be a concubine, but Master Tao doted on his concubine and killed his wife. Soon after the first wife died, the concubine became the new wife. Therefore, all these years, Tao Feng's life at home has been especially difficult. However, his third brother was kidnapped since he was young. Gu Yundong was in a daze. Wasn't the third young master of the Tao family Xiaoqing Yuan? At this moment, Xiaoqing Yuan was still explaining the cowpox vaccination method to Qin Wenzheng. Why was Tao Feng looking for him? Kidnapped. Gu Yundong was stunned by the word. She suddenly raised her head and looked at Lu Wei. Did you just say kidnapped? Third young master Tao was kidnapped. I think so, but this was said by Tao Feng. I don't know the exact situation. Lu Wei lowered his voice and said mysteriously, but when my father told me about this, he kept it a secret and looked like there was something else going on. I think it's definitely not as simple as kidnapping. Perhaps it's because Tao Xing's mother harmed him. How pitiful. Gu Yundong slowly took a deep breath. When was the third young master of the Tao family found? Yesterday morning, but I only got the news today. Lu Wei was a little regretful. I heard that the Tao family was very lively for a while. Mrs. Tao was determined not to let Tao Yin in. Even Master Tao and old Madame Tao didn't agree. It's also very strange. Tao Yin has been kidnapped for so many years. It wasn't easy to find him. Shouldn't they be crying tears of joy? Why is everyone's reaction so big? It's as if they've seen a ghost. Gu Yundong pursed her lips and suddenly turned around. Lu Wei was stunned and hurriedly followed. Hey, where are you going? I haven't finished speaking. Gu Yundong walked faster and faster until she started to run. Lu Wei chased after her for a while. He was in such a hurry that he stumbled. Just as he was blaming himself for eating too much recently and gaining weight, he looked up and saw that Gu Yundong had disappeared. Why did you run so fast? It wasn't easy for me to gossip with you, but you didn't stay and laugh with me. Are we still friends? Unable to catch up, Lu Wei gave up in the end. However, Gu Yundong quickly returned to Qin Wenzheng's school. Before she could enter, she saw Xiaoqing Yuan walk out. She rushed to him and asked, "Are you guys done?" "We're done." Xiaoqing Yuan was a man of few words. His explanation was simple and straightforward. As for the specific data, he directly wrote it down in his notebook and handed it to Qin Wenzheng to read it himself. After all, Qin Wenzheng was not a doctor, so he could not ask any professional questions. In any case, it was enough for him to know that the cowpox vaccination method was feasible and had a very high success rate. Therefore, Xiaoqing Yuan came out to look for Gu Yundong. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 908. Old Man Li lied to him again, but why did she look so anxious when he saw her now? As if something big had happened? Gu Yundong gritted her teeth. Wasn't something big going on? She grabbed Xiaoqing Yuan's hand and walked in again. She strode towards Qin Wenzheng's study and suddenly pushed open the door. Qin Wenzheng was reading the notebook that Xiaoqing Yuan had given him. When he heard the sound of the door breaking in, he was shocked and almost reflexively hid the notebook. Seeing that it was the two of them, he heaved a sigh of relief. You have to knock on the door before entering. Even your brother knows this. Don't you know this kind of etiquette as an elder sister? Gu Yundong did not seem to hear him. She rushed to him in a few strides and asked with narrowed eyes. I heard that Tao Feng found the third young master of the Tao family. The one called Tao Yin is in the Tao family now, right? Xiaoqing Yuan's pupils constricted as he looked at Gu Yundong in disbelief. When Qin Wenzheng heard this, his body stiffened, but he tried his best to maintain a normal expression. But who was Gu Yundong? She had already figured out the connection along the way back. These words were not a question at all, but an affirmative tone. Seeing that Qin Wenzheng seemed to be looking for an excuse, Gu Yundong glared at him. Don't try to lie to me. It won't do you any good. Qin Wenzheng sighed faintly and nodded. Tao Feng did find Tao Yan. As he spoke, he glanced at Xiao Qingyuan and said, the real third young master of the Tao family. Xiao Qingyuan's mind went blank for a moment. He frowned. You mean I'm not a member of the Tao family? Qin Wenzheng nodded. Yes, you must have been deceived by Old Li. However, what he said about the third young master of the Tao family being given away as a jinx to be raised and tormented by others is true. Xiao Qingyuan was stunned. It was fake again. That old man lied to him again before he died. However, he had clearly investigated. He had personally asked the two old men who had been in the Tao family for more than 20 years, and confirmed that the third young master of the Tao family had been carried away by old man Li. He was now 20 years old, and so was third young master Tao. 2 days after third young master Tao was carried away was the time he appeared in Yongfu village. Master Tao's first wife's surname was Xiao, and when he was young, he had the word Xiao on his clothes. He had seen that swaddling cloth. Moreover, if he was not the third young master of the Tao family, why would old man Li torture him like this? Qin Wenzheng glanced at him and sat down again. No wonder you couldn't find out. Back then, third young master Tao was indeed carried away by Old Li. However, he handed the kid over to someone else. As for Xiao Qingyuan's clothes when he was young, it was very likely that Old Li had taken them from the real third young master Tao. Xiao Qingyuan lowered his head slightly. No one knew what he was thinking. After a while he suddenly laughed. In that case, I'm not the one that, according to Tao family, would jinx his relatives? Gu Yundong was stunned. Her heart suddenly ached terribly. It turned out that this was still what he cared about the most. Gu Yundong herself did not believe it, but Xiao Qingyuan had grown up in such an environment. Old Li had given him such a huge blow before he died. The saying that he was a jinx had already taken root in his heart and become a dead knot. She immediately reached out to hug him. Qin Wenzheng's eyelids twitched. It didn't conform to the rules. Was it appropriate? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 909. Gu Yundong's accusation. Gu Yundong suddenly turned to look at him fiercely. Since Brother Xiao is not the third young master of the Tao family, where are his real family members? Qin Wenzheng was stunned. Then he touched his nose and said softly, well, we haven't found out yet. Moreover, it's very difficult to investigate. I'm afraid only Old Li, who has been buried, knows. Then what's the use of you? Qin Wenzheng was speechless. Did he agree to investigate Xiao Qingyuan's background? Did she have to vent her anger on others like this? Her temper was too bad. She probably wouldn't be able to get married. Gu Yundong did not look at him and said in a low voice, it's fine, Brother Xiao. Qin Wenzheng is useless and can't find anything. We'll find your family ourselves. We'll definitely find them. Xiao Qingyuan shook his head. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me whether I know my family or not. I have you now. It's enough. He suddenly felt a sense of relief. That sense of relief disappeared because Tao Feng had found the real third young master Tao. He was not a member of the Tao family. It was quite good. Gu Yundong looked up at him and saw that the smile at the corners of his eyes had become much brighter. She immediately smiled too. No matter what, we have nothing to do with the Tao family. Whether the Tao family dies or not, you will be fine. Okay. Xiao Qingyuan lowered his head and touched her forehead with the corner of his mouth. Qin Wenzheng. Do the two of you think I'm dead? It's fine if you hugged each other, but you even kissed each other? It's immoral. He pointed at them with a trembling finger and said, in public, and before the two of you are married, how can you? Before he could finish speaking, the smile on Gu Yundong's face disappeared. She turned her head and looked at him sinisterly. It's fine if you don't speak. But once you speak, I remember that I haven't settled the score with you. Gu Yundong let go of Xiao Qingyuan and sneered. You knew about this long ago, right? You actually kept it a secret. You sinister, cunning, and evil person. Hey, you have to speak with your conscience. How am I a villain? I just found out about this today. You came over early this morning. I wanted to tell you, but I was so shocked by your good news that I forgot. Bullshit. Don't say dirty. You knew more than a month ago. Qin Wenzheng's eyes widened slightly. Damn it, you even guessed this? Gu Yundong smiled insincerely. More than a month ago, you told Brother Xiao that although the Tao family's waters are deep, you can guarantee that Brother Xiao will be safe and sound. How could be so sure that the Emperor will not really implicate Brother Xiao? Now that I think about it, isn't that guaranteed? Brother Xiao is not a member of the Tao family. Whether the Tao family's waters are deep or not, it has nothing to do with Brother Xiao, right? Qin Wenzheng. That's why I said that it's not good to fool someone smart. I was exposed in an instant. A trace of embarrassment flashed across his face. He said awkwardly, I couldn't say too much at that time. I think you're obviously doing this on purpose to cheat us of the cowpox vaccination method, right? You know that Brother Xiao and I are looking for a way out, and you're trying to squeeze out our last value, right? Gu Yundong's accusations became more and more serious. Xiao Qingyuan's eyes suddenly turned sharp as he looked at Qin Wenzheng with an unfriendly gaze. Qin Wenzheng's eyes widened. This was a huge crime. What did she mean by squeezing them dry? He was just hoping that the two of them would be able to think of a great contribution. But in her mouth, he had actually become a heinous sinner? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 9:10. Then I'll beat you, stupid. You can eat whatever you want, but you can't spout nonsense. Qin Wenzheng quickly explained. I was just curious about how capable you are. The facts have proven that you're indeed powerful. Flattery won't help. Give us back the cowpox vaccination method. We won't give it to you anymore. Qin Wenzheng was speechless. Do you think this is children playing house? How can you take it back? Yundong, that's where you're wrong. The cowpox vaccination method is a good thing for the country and the people. Do you know how many people it can save if it's made public? This is a good deed, merit, and a huge matter that saves lives. How can you take it back? Besides, Xiao Qingyuan has already told me. I'll remember it in my mind. How can you take it back? When he said the last sentence, he was even a little proud. A genius was indeed a genius. He remembered everything Xiao Qingyuan had told him clearly. Gu Yundong gritted her teeth in hatred. It was not that she was unwilling to give Qin Wenzheng this thing. She was angry that Qin Wenzheng had known about it long ago but did not tell them. Did he know how long they had been on tenterhooks? This bastard. You've memorized it, haven't you? Then I'll beat you, silly, and see how you'll remember it. As Gu Yundong spoke, she grabbed the brush on the desk and threw it at him. Qin Wenzheng hurriedly stood up and took a few steps back. However, Gu Yundong refused to give up. She grabbed the book on the table and threw it at him. Qin Wenzheng cried out in heartache, You can't throw this away. This is the only copy. Hey, this is a purple brush. It's very expensive. That's a painting I've been working on for 2 days. Don't. Xiao Qingyuan, stop her. As expected, she wanted to beat him silly and destroy the things that he loved the most. Wouldn't he be so angry that his head hurt and he would go silly? Xiao Qingyuan saw that Qin Wenzheng was calling him. He paused for a moment and silently walked to the side. He brought over a canvas bucket filled with many paintings and handed it to Gu Yundong. There's more here. Smash him. Qin Wenzheng widened his eyes. Xiao Qingyuan, you're helping the evildoer. You deserve this. Qin Wenzheng was speechless. He wanted to save his paintings, but Gu Yundong smashed them fiercely, so he could not go forward at all. His heart immediately ached. Gu Yundong, calm down. I was wrong. I promise I won't hide it from you again. Don't smash it. It's broken. Qin Wenzheng's voice became sharper and sharper. Finally, it spread far away and was heard by the students who had already finished class and were resting in the lecture hall. Yunchu thought of how his eldest sister had also come to look for the teacher. Worried that something would happen to her, he hurriedly ran over. Seeing this, the others followed behind him. Soon, the sound got closer and closer, but it was very strange. It seemed to be the sound of the headmaster wailing like a ghost. The headmaster usually cared a lot about his image. How could such a situation happen? Yunxu became even more anxious and started shouting from afar. Big sister, teacher, big sister. Gu Yundong immediately stopped. Then, she flipped her hair and looked like a lady as if nothing had happened. Qin Wenzheng was still panting when Yunxu ran to the door of the study. He looked at the mess on the ground and his watery eyes instantly widened. Sister, what happened? Did someone break into the house? The others also arrived one after another. When they saw this, they immediately looked at each other. Qin Wenzheng sneered. He was about to say that the robber was his elder sister, but Gu Yundong had already spoken before him. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 911. Gu Yundong's influence. No one is robbing anyone. Gu Yundong sat on the chair with a smile on her face. Her hair was neat and tidy. She waved at Gu Yunxu. The latter immediately went in obediently. Then he heard his eldest sister point at the paintings on the ground and say, "Your master Qin suddenly had a cramp in his legs just now." In a moment of desperation, he kicked over the painting bucket and hit the table. These things fell out. Look, they even rolled everywhere. Yunxu, call your classmates in and help master pick them up. Oh, okay. Gu Yunxu quickly nodded and began to call his friends in. Qin Wenzheng heaved a sigh of relief. Unexpectedly, Gu Yundong glanced at him and added with a smile, "By the way, your teacher is especially generous today. He said that these paintings, brushes, and paper were originally prepared for you. You can look at them yourself. If you like them, just pick them and bring them back." Yunxu blinked. Huh. Hadn't the headmaster always treasured these paintings? Was he willing to give them away? Qin Wenzheng's eyes almost popped out. His fingers trembled as he pointed at Gu Yundong. You. Gu Yundong smiled insincerely. Master Qin, your students are all looking at you eagerly. You won't go back on your word, right? Or were you lying to me again just now? She emphasized the word lying. Qin Wenzheng looked at the eager gazes of the students outside the door, and then at Gu Yundong, who was holding a painting that was about to be torn apart. He knew that he would definitely bleed today. His heart ached even more. He gritted his teeth and nodded. Yes, that's right. You guys choose for yourselves. As soon as he finished speaking, the students outside the door walked in one after another and cupped their hands to thank Mr. Qin. After Qin Wenzheng nodded with tears in his eyes, he immediately rushed towards the painting he liked. Qin Wenzheng thought to himself, fortunately, these students were taught by him and knew when to stop. Indeed, everyone had chosen one. Until Yunxu stood up with 3 or 4 paintings. Qin Wenzheng widened his eyes. Why did you take so many? Gu Yunxu said. I want to choose one for my father, one for my elder sister, and one for my mother and younger sister each. I originally wanted to choose one for Niu Dan, Zheng Jia, and Zheng Le, but I think we can't be too greedy. This is enough. Teacher, you don't have to be polite to me. Qin Wenzheng looked at Gu Yundong in shock and cursed in his heart. Damn it, he had forgotten that a student here was taught by Gu Yundong. It was obvious that Gu Yundong's influence on him was much deeper than his. No, he had to focus on nurturing Gu Yunxu in the future. He had to turn his temper around. However, Qin Wenzheng had forgotten that he was actually a sinister person. If the painting that Gu Yunxu had chosen belonged to someone else, he would have wished for it to be swept away. 15 minutes later, Qin Wenzheng watched as every student left with at least 2 calligraphy paintings or brush and paper. His heart was bleeding. He looked at his empty study and comforted himself. It's fine. They're all my students anyway. I'll give them to them sooner or later. I'm not angry. He walked up to Gu Yundong and asked with a dark expression. Are you done venting your anger now? Yes, I'm done. Take the cowpox vaccination method. I won't take it back. Gu Yundong stood up and said, I'll leave first. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 912. This is Yongfu village? Qin Wenzheng snorted. She should have left long ago. He really could not provoke this woman. In the future, he promised to stay far away from her. For the sake of the cowpox vaccination method they had brought, he would let her off for the time being. As he thought about it, Qin Wenzheng quickly took out the handwritten notebook and started reading it. His eyes grew bigger and brighter. After reading it, he couldn't help but take out his brush, ink, paper, and inkstone. He began to write. After writing 3 pages, he carefully wrapped them with the handwritten notebook. Then he summoned a person and had him send the letter to the capital at full speed. After doing all this, Qin Wenzheng heaved a sigh of relief. He didn't expect Xiao Qingyuan to be so talented in medicine. That guy was indeed a talent. However, Xiao Qingyuan's background was really strange. Gu Yundong was also thinking about this question as she sat in the carriage. Although she said that it did not matter, Gu Yundong still took it to heart. She had never received the love and care of her family since she was young. She had always grown up alone. The feeling of wanting to have a family to rely on was too deep. Even though she no longer had extravagant hopes when she grew up, ever since she came here, she was still touched and surrendered to such warmth. But Xiao Qingyuan had never felt it before. She didn't know what his family was like. Did they want to stay far away like the Tao family? Or were they like her father, who had never given up on searching after his wife and children were separated from him? She had never seen it before, but she could not help but think about it. However, Xiao Qingyuan did not care about the search for family, and Gu Yundong would not take the initiative to mention it. If the result was bad, wouldn't it hurt him again? So let nature take its course. But no matter what, the Tao family's matter would no longer involve Xiao Qingyuan in the future. Gu Yundong expressed that a huge burden had been lifted from his heart. Even if he was schemed against by Qin Wenzheng once, she could let it go. Right. I forgot to tell Qin Wenzheng that I'm coming of age tomorrow. I should have asked him to bring his wife, daughter, and gifts over. Gu Yundong suddenly thought of this and was instantly vexed. Xiao Qingyuan said, Yunshu and Yuanji will definitely explain why they're taking leave tomorrow. In other words, Qin Wenzheng would definitely know. However, after today's incident, it was unknown if he would bring gifts. Gu Yundong was a little regretful. I should have fallen out with him 2 days later. There was an indescribable regret in her tone. Xiao Qingyuan laughed out loud. The lightness in his voice stunned Gu Yundong, and then he laughed as well. The two of them talked as they drove the carriage home. The family was already preparing for her coming-of-age ceremony tomorrow. Gu Yundong looked at her parents, sister, and eldest aunt's busy backs and felt indescribably satisfied. She really hoped that brother Xiao could have such warmth too. Aunt Ke came over and called her into the room to try her clothes. Where did you go so early in the morning? Why do you look so relaxed on such an important day? Gu Yundong followed her in. Shen Sitian had already come over with a plain dress. Hurry up and try. If there's anything wrong, it's not too late to change it. The Gu family was in high spirits. No one knew that at this moment, 2 carriages were driving into Yongfu village. From one of the carriages, a person poked her head out and looked at the small village in front of her. Her curious eyes darted around. This is Yongfu village? That Miss Gulev's here? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 9:13. Inquiring. There were 3 women sitting in the carriage. The young woman who had spoken just now had already poked half her head out of the window. She looked at the village path in front of her excitedly and asked curiously and confusedly, why does she live in such a place? Sitting opposite her was Nie Shuang. She pulled her back to prevent her from falling out of the car window. Baolingwe, you have to be careful. This road is not smooth, and it's different from the prefectural city. If you fall out, you might end up with a mouthful of cow dung. It was so disgusting. Baolingwe spat twice and turned her head to ask, aren't you curious about what kind of village Miss Gu is in? I'm curious, but I'm not in a hurry. After Sister Yundong's coming-of-age ceremony, I'll get her to show me around the village. It's better than you looking around aimlessly. What can you tell? You're getting better at bragging. Didn't you say that your sister Yundong is very busy every day? How could she have the time to bring you around the village? Nie Shuang snorted softly and was a little proud. Who asked me to be Sister Yundong's good friend? You don't understand. She treats her friends with sincerity. Bao Lingyue rolled her eyes inelegantly. Calm Madame Dai, who was sitting in the middle, shook her head and laughed. All right, stop bickering. We still don't know where Yundong's house is. Let's ask our fellow villagers first. I'll ask. Bao Lingyue immediately lifted the curtain, and her gaze swept across the area outside. Finally, her gaze fell on a simple-looking woman. She waved her hand and called out warmly, "Auntie, can I ask you something?" Jin Yuexiang saw 2 carriages entering the village, and was curious to see if they were here to look for the Gu family again. In the end, they did not expect the carriage to not go to the Gu family. They were instantly happy. Hearing her call, she quickly raised her head and said with a smile, "Miss, you're from the city, right? Io, looking at your aura, you're obviously a young lady from a rich family. This is a true daughter of a wealthy family. You're much better than those pretentious people." Bao Lingyue. She just wanted to ask a question, but she was suddenly flattered. This made her panic. What should she do? Bao Lingyue had always been a friendly person, but in front of Jin Yuexiang, it seemed that she could not get familiar with her. Nie Shuang leaned over and asked with a smile, "Aunt, we want to know how to get to the Gu residence, or Gu Yundong's place?" Jin Yuexiang's face darkened when she heard Gu Yundong's name. She snorted and turned to leave. They were actually here to look for Gu Yundong again. They were just lost. What kind of luck did that brat have? Most of the carriages coming and going in the village were here to look for her. Were these rich families blind? Nie Shuang and Bao Lingyue looked at each other. What was going on? Did they say something they shouldn't have? However, Jin Yuexiang quickly turned back and tried her best to squeeze out a smile. She pointed at the foot of the mountain and said, "The Gu family is there. It's at the foot of the mountain. It's easy to recognize. You'll know at a glance." With that, she hurried away. Nie Shuang and Bao Lingyue's brows furrowed even more tightly. The 2 of them sat back in the carriage and said, "This woman looked very unhappy just now, as if Sister Yundong had a grudge against her." Yes, I think so too. Don't tell me she deliberately pointed us the wrong way? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 9:14. A man and a woman. The more Bao Lingyue thought about it, the more likely it seemed. Look, she was just about to leave when she suddenly changed her mind and pointed out the way without saying a word. It looks like she has some bad intentions. Yes, that makes sense. Nie Shuang nodded. Besides, it's not like Sister Yundong doesn't have money at home. Why would she live at the foot of the mountain? I heard that there are many wild beasts in the 9 Tigers Mountain. If some tigers, bears, and wild boars run out of the mountain, wouldn't the families at the foot of the mountain be the first to suffer? Sister Yundong still has younger siblings. How can she live there? That woman lied to us. She pointed us in the opposite direction. The 2 of them nodded heavily and finally looked at the silent Madame Dai. The latter also felt that it made sense. Hence Nie Shuang decided, "Then let's walk to the middle of the village. We'll ask the other villagers when we meet them." Okay. The 2 of them stuck their heads out and asked the coachman to continue riding towards the center of the village. This Yongfu village is good, but the road is too difficult to walk. Come, why don't we take the main road? We'll detour out and head for the wider road. We can't. What if we go the wrong way? We won't go the wrong way. Believe me, my intuition is very accurate. Besides, think about it. The Gu family has carriages going back and forth every day. It's not convenient to take the small road. They'll definitely go to the main road. That might not be the case. If the carriage can't pass, you can get down and walk. Madame Deis had heard from the 2 of them arguing. Seeing that they were all leaning over to look out, she said angrily, "I think what you said makes sense. Why don't we stop asking for directions and see who can convince who? Let's follow what she says." Nie Shuang was taken aback and her eyes suddenly lit up. That makes sense. Lingyue, let's not ask for directions. Come down and look for it yourself. Let's see who finds Sister Yundong's house first. Idea like that. Madame Dai was speechless. The 2 of them alighted from the carriage, each with a maidservant behind them. Then they walked in the direction they had chosen. Madame Dai wanted to take back her words, But when she saw that the two of them had already sped away, she choked on her words and could not say anything. She sat in the carriage and did not move. Afraid that something would happen to the two of them in this unfamiliar place, she hurriedly asked the two servants in the carriage behind to follow. She quickly saw another woman and asked for the direction of the Gu family. When she found out that the Gu family was indeed at the foot of the mountain, she could not help but feel vexed. So that woman had not lied to them. Of course, Jin Yuexiang wanted to lie to them. But her son, Liang, was still lying on the bed half dead. He had been beaten up by the Prung family. The people in these two carriages were obviously rich and noble. If they knew that she had lied to them and broke her legs later, how could she live? However, she did not expect that her earlier actions would actually make people directly deny her words. She was very wronged. Madame Dai laughed. After thinking for a moment, she decided to go to the Gu residence first. When the time came, she would ask Yundong to send two people to look for the two girls. After all, she was not familiar with this place. She did not want to add to Yundong's trouble. At this moment, Nie Shuang and Bao Lingyue were using different methods to reach the same destination. Although they had taken two different paths, in the end, they both stopped at the entrance of the same house. However, there was a man and a woman standing at the door of this house. From the looks of it, they seemed to be husband and wife. They were even holding gift boxes. Nie Shuang and Bao Lingyue looked at each other. This was the Gu family's house, so it was definitely not wrong. The two of them were also here to congratulate Gu Yundong on her coming-of-age ceremony, right? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 9:15. Someone is talking bad about you behind your back. Nie Shuang wanted to go forward and knock on the door, but this couple came first. Since this couple came first, they were naturally the first. The woman said something to her husband. She took a deep breath and went forward to knock on the door. However, after knocking for a long time, the door did not open. Bao Lingyue found it strange. Didn't the Gu family have servants? Why was the gatekeeper so unreliable? He didn't even guard it. Immediately after, the two of them heard the woman call out, "Uncle, Aunt, it's Yulan. Open the door." Nie Shuang and Bao Lingyue were stunned. Uncle? Aunt? Were they Gu Yundong's parents? She had never heard of Gu Yundong having any cousins. Didn't Gu Yundong say that she only had one relative, eldest Aunt Gu? Nie Shuang suddenly realized that she must have found the wrong person. She pulled Bao Lingyue along, wanting to leave, but she did not expect to hear the man's impatient voice. That's enough. They deliberately refused to open the door. Your uncle has already said that he has severed ties with you, so why are you still looking for him? Chen Yulan was furious. Why are you still saying such things? If your mother hadn't gone overboard back then, and insisted on slandering Niu Dan as a thief, would my uncle have been so cold-hearted and refused to interact with us? My mother just said it casually. If Gu Yundong had not meddled in other people's business, things would not have turned out like this. Gu Yundong? Nie Shuang and Bao Lingyue stopped in their tracks and pricked up their ears to listen. When Chen Yulan saw that there were people around, she quickly came up and pulled Wu Chong. Keep your voice down. Your shop still needs her. As she spoke, she pulled Wu Chong out. It seems that my uncle and aunt are not at home. Forget it, it'll come another day. Wu Chong snorted coldly. I don't think there's a need to come over. Only my mother listens to your nonsense about how good the things in Gus are. So what if they sell well? We don't have the money to buy goods. Your cousin is just a shop assistant in Gus. What can he help with? Look at what he can do. I feel embarrassed to see him ordered around by that hooligan from your village. Nie Shuang and Bao Lingyue did not hear the rest of the sentence, but they knew that these two people definitely had a feud with Gu Yundong and looked very shameless. The two of them were filled with righteous indignation, but when they thought about how they had found the wrong place, they immediately felt a little depressed. They thought that they should quickly ask the others. It was getting late. At this moment, they heard a laugh from afar. I knew you would walk towards the middle of the village. You must find the village chief's house. In Yongfu village, other than the two houses she and brother Xiao had at the foot of the mountain, the green brick-tiled house of the village chief, Chen Liang, was the most eye-catching. So when Gu Yundong heard Madame De's words, she quickly came out to look for them. Coincidentally, Chen Liang's family was at her house today, as her coming-of-age ceremony was tomorrow. Madame Zhou and Madame Song were both helping her at home. When Chen Liang heard that Gu Dajiang was back, he came to talk to him. After Gu Dajiang persuaded him, he changed his attitude towards Niu Dan. As expected, this kid was becoming more and more motivated in his studies. It was said that he had even received praise from the teacher last time. Chen Liang could not wait to share this matter with him. Therefore, when Chen Yulan and her husband knocked on the door of the Chen family's house, it was not that Chen Liang avoided them. When Nie Shuang and Bao Lingyue saw her, they quickly walked up to her. Sister Yundong. Lady Gu. Gu Yundong was rather curious as to why Bao Lingyue had come, but before she could ask, Bao Lingyue spoke first. Lady Gu, I have a big piece of news for you. Just now 2 people were bad-mouthing you behind your back. This was big news? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 9:16. You don't understand. Gu Yundong readily agreed. Who's bad-mouthing me? Bao Lingyue gave her a look as if she were sharing huge gossip. The 2 people who were standing at the door just now were calling uncle and aunt at the door. They said something about you being a busybody and harming them. I didn't hear anything else. They didn't knock on the door and left with the gift box. They seemed to have said that they would come another day. The corners of Gu Yundong's mouth twitched. Was it worth it for you to be so secretive and say that it was big news? That she was meddling in other people's business? However, Chen Yulan was the only person who called Chen Liang uncle at the door. Didn't Chen Liang cut ties with her? Why did she come looking for him? However, it was obvious that with the nature of the Wu family and Chen Yulan, they definitely had something to ask of Chen Liang. This was really interesting. They had caused Niu Dan to be wrongly accused and expelled from school. He had been pointed at as a thief and his reputation had almost been ruined. Now they still had the cheek to come to his door. Nie Shuang quickly said, Sister Yundong, will they find trouble with you? No, Gu Yundong said. I know who they are. Don't worry, they're just 2 thick-skinned people. Nie Shuang was relieved when she heard this and did not dwell on this matter. She only asked curiously, Sister Yundong, is this really not your house? Then is your house really at the foot of the mountain? Gu Yundong nodded. Indeed. Why was it built at the foot of the mountain? Didn't they say that it was more dangerous there? Well, the reason is a little complicated. When we first fled to Yongfu village, there was only one foundation we could choose. In addition, it was quiet and the environment was quite good. It's not dangerous. There are very few wild beasts on 9 Tigers Mountain. They won't go down the mountain easily. Even if they went down the mountain, her house was much sturdier and safer than the other houses in the village. Bao Lingyue suddenly turned to look at her in surprise. Yundong, did you flee here? This lady was indeed very friendly. She had changed from Miss Gu to Yundong. Nie Shuang was unhappy when she heard that. Why are you so surprised? Could it be that you looked down on Sister Yundong because she fled here? Of course not. Bao Lingyue quickly shook her head. I'm just shocked. Fleeing to Yongfu village from the famine. Wasn't that just last year? It's only been a little more than a year, and he already has a workshop and a huge new tea pavilion. Isn't that too amazing? Nie Shuang was very proud. Of course. This is my sister Yundong. Gu Yundong was modest. I was lucky. Come on, praise me again. Don't stand on ceremony. The 3 of them arrived at the foot of the mountain as they spoke. Looking at the 2 identical green brick houses, Nie Shuang and Bao Lingyue's mouths were agape. It turned out that the woman had not lied to them. As long as they reached the foot of the mountain, they would be able to recognize Gu Yundong's house at a glance. This house was big and beautiful. It was much better than the previous house. Gu Yundong did not understand their expressions. Although this house is very beautiful, it's not to that extent, right? The Nie family's and Bao family's houses are bigger than both houses. There are carved trees, painted buildings, fake mountains, and lotus ponds. They're much better than this. You don't understand. You don't understand. The two of them shook their heads in unison. The main reason was that this house was in the village and was surrounded by low mud houses. Suddenly, two identical houses stood in front of them. The visual shock was completely different. Moreover, this house looked different from ordinary green brick houses. It looked energetic. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 9:17. The difficult Madame Zhou energetic? Can the house be described as energetic? Gu Yundong exhaled and led them through the door. The Gu family was very lively. Everyone took Gu Yundong's coming-of-age ceremony very seriously. Not only did Chen Liang's family come to help, but the Shi couple and Lan Hua also came. Dong Xiulan also brought the children. Gu Yundong had not thought of inviting Madame Dai and Nie Shuang. After all, she had almost forgotten that she was about to become an adult. Moreover, the coming-of-age ceremony was held in Yongfu village. Madame Dai and the rest were in the prefectural city. It would take an entire day to get to the county city by carriage. Not only was it a waste of time, but it was also tiring. But who would have thought that they would still come? And even bring along Bao Lingyue, a lady whom they had only met once. Gu Yundong had guessed that Bao Lingyue had a good relationship with Nie Shuang. After all, she could hear the familiarity in her tone when she spoke of Nie Shuang. However, Gu Yundong did not expect their relationship to be so good. According to Nie Shuang, she happened to bump into her when she and Madame Dai were about to set off. When she heard that they were coming to Yongfu village, she got into the carriage without a word and sent someone home to tell them that she was playing with Nie Shuang. It was said that she often went to the Nie family to look for Nie Shuang. The Bao family was already used to her. But of course, Gu Yundong was happy that they could come. She warmly welcomed them. Madame Dai arrived at the Gu house first, and only had time to tell Gu Yundong about Nie Shuang and Bao Lingyue. Gu Yundong let Aunt Ke lead her into the house to rest while she went out to look for them. Now that the three of them had arrived, Gu Yundong introduced them to others. She did not mention Madame Dai's identity, and only introduced the three of them as seniors and friends from the prefectural city. Nie Shuang immediately hugged her arm and added, "We're especially close friends." Although Chen Liang and the others did not know who they were, they could tell that the three of them were young ladies and madams of wealthy families. Their statuses in the prefecture capital were probably not low, especially Madame Dai. Chen Liang had seen the county magistrate's wife from afar in the county city before, but this Madame Dai looked even more imposing than the county magistrate's wife. He was a little restrained for a moment, and the others were even more so. Hence after dinner, Mrs. Zhou secretly came to look for Gu Yundong. She was a little embarrassed to say that she would no longer be the main guest. Gu Yundong was stunned. Women's coming-of-age ceremony was usually attended by the witness, the host, the main guest, the director, the praiser, and so on. The host was her parents. Gu Yundong's first choice for the main guest, who was supposed to be a female senior with virtue, was Aunt Ku, but Aunt Ku rejected her as a widow. Gu Yundong had no choice but to look for Chen Liang's wife. The village chief's wife had the highest status in Yongfu village. Coupled with Gu Yundong's relationship with the Chen family, it was reasonable to invite Madame Zhou as an official guest. Madame Zhou was also very happy at that time, and she patted her chest excitedly and promised that there was no problem. The director was Dong Xiulan. The praiser was Lan Hua. The few of them were already prepared. Why did she suddenly quit? Madame Zhou had no choice. "Yundong, I didn't do it on purpose. I just feel that it's more appropriate for you to let Madame Dai replace me. I'm especially nervous now. I just feel that'll mess it up." At the thought of being the main guest in front of a noblewoman like Madame Dai, she felt that she could not comb Gu Yundong's hair during the ceremony. She felt that she would make a mistake. What if she couldn't even speak and Yundong's hair wasn't combed well? What if she embarrassed Yundong? Would Madame Dai laugh at Yundong? Would she look down on Yundong? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 9:18. Qin Wenzheng's name is familiar. Furthermore, Chen Liang even told her, "I guess this Madame Dai might be the wife of an official. I was talking to Da Jiang just now. When Dajiang saw Madame Dai enter, his expression changed. It was as if he respected her very much. The wife of an official? Madame Zhou felt terrible. She was the village chief's wife, and could be considered an official's wife in the village. However, how could an official's wife like her, who wasn't even proper, compare to the official's wife from the prefectural city? Her legs went weak. She would definitely not be able to speak tomorrow. She would definitely lose face. Not only would she lose face for Gu Yundong, but she would also lose face for the village chief, Chen Liang. At the thought of this, Madame Zhou could not calm down at all. The pressure was inexplicably great. Gu Yundong did not know whether to laugh or cry. What should she do? How could she change the main guest just like that? This had been confirmed long ago and everyone knew about it. Calm but facing Madame Zhou's pitiful gaze, Gu Yundong was momentarily speechless. Aunt Ke heard the commotion, and thought that nothing should happen during the coming-of-age ceremony tomorrow. Otherwise it would not be good for Gu Yundong. Hence she agreed. Gu Yundong tried to persuade her a few times. Seeing that Madame Zhou was about to shake off her head, she could only agree. Then she went to look for Madame Dai. The latter understood the whole story, and was so surprised that she could not close her mouth. Well, was she that imposing? Didn't Yundong hide her identity? How could she have known that Chen Liang would make such a guess after seeing her? Unfortunately, he had even told Madame Zhou. However, Madame Dai had been the main guest a few times. She was not unfamiliar with this kind of thing, so there was naturally no problem, and she agreed. However, Madame Dai still felt that she should tell her that she had snatched the original job of Madame Zhou. When Madame Zhou saw that Madame Dai had personally come to apologize, she was immediately flattered. It's not Madame's problem. I'm just too nervous. I'm a countrywoman who has never seen the world really. Then she turned around and pinched Chen Liang fiercely. It's all your fault. Tell me what kind of official's wife she is. I'm so nervous. I saw that Madame Dai was approachable and easy to get along with. She even specially came over to comfort me. She doesn't look like an official's wife at all. You're really a jinx. My main guest role is gone. Chen Liang was speechless. What did he do? However, although she said that, Madame Zhou only blamed Chen Liang. If she was really asked to continue being the main guest, she would not agree. Fortunately, other than Madame Zhou, nothing happened to Dong Xiulan and Lan Huar. Although Nie Shuang really wanted to be the praiser, she was too embarrassed to snatch it since the candidate had already been confirmed. The next day was Gu Yundong's coming-of-age ceremony. Xiao Qingyuan was the happiest among them. His girlfriend was coming of age, and was one step closer to their marriage. He looked at the hairpin on the tray, and felt even more satisfied. He had chosen this hairpin. Contrary to Xiao Qingyuan, Gu Dajiang was the most reluctant one. His daughter had grown up and was one step away from him. Soon she might be married. At the thought of this, he couldn't help but glare at Xiao Qingyuan. His girl had been stolen by this pig. He was so angry, but he still had to maintain a smile. After all, as the host, he had to welcome guests. Early in the morning, many people came to the Gu family to watch the ceremony. Most of them were from the village, and it was very lively. Nie Shuang and Bao Lingyue had learned a lot. So this was what the village's coming-of-age ceremony was like. Qin Wenzheng arrived at midnight and stepped into the door with his wife and daughter. Nie Shuang and Bao Lingyue, who were standing at the door, were stunned when they heard Qin Wenzheng's name. Why did this name sound a little familiar? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 919. Qin Wenzheng was allegedly killed. Qin Wenzheng? Qin Wenzheng. Nie Shuang and Bao Lingyue looked at each other and rubbed their eyes hard. Qin Wenzheng? Wasn't he the young genius? The one who got the top scholar title at the age of 18? Is it him? That's right, that's right. My big brother really admires him. It's a pity that I heard that he suddenly resigned a few years ago and went missing. But there were also people who said that he was actually... Bao Lingyue lowered her voice. They said that he had actually been harmed. Is it true? It's true. When my elder brother heard the news, he was very sad. I was also very sad. I could not believe the truth. After a long time, I reluctantly accepted it. The heavens are really jealous of geniuses. Bao Lingyue sighed faintly. And think about it, if he had not been harmed, with his talent and learning ability, the current emperor would definitely have let him return to the court. I heard that many court officials who were talented and capable, but couldn't accomplish their ambitions have been recalled since the new emperor ascended the throne. They have even been placed in important positions. Nie Shuang also knew this news. When she heard this, she glanced at Qin Wenzheng, who had walked in with his wife and daughter, and said, "In that case, this Qin Wenzheng only has the same name as him?" "I think so, but considering his age and appearance, he seems to be as the rumors say." Nie Shuang rolled her eyes. "Let's go and ask Sister Yundong." The two of them entered the room. Gu Yundong sat in the room and waited. She did not have to do anything today. She just had to take a shower and change her clothes before waiting in the inner room behind the east room. Madame Dai was also in the room. When Nie Shuang and Madame Ge entered, Madame Ge happened to enter with her daughter. Qin Wenzheng greeted them outside the door and went to talk to Xiaoqing Yuan. Compared to Nie Shuang and the others, Madame Dai knew more. Of course, she knew if Qin Wenzheng was dead or alive. She also knew about his matters in Fengkai County. Previously, Qin Wenzheng had even brought his wife and daughter to the Dai residence to visit her husband, so she knew Madame Ge. However, what she did not know was that Qin Wenzheng actually knew the Gu family and had such a good relationship. Gu Yundong's coming-of-age ceremony was attended by his entire family. No one was left behind. She turned her gaze outside and happened to see Qin Wenzheng talking excitedly with Xiaoqing Yuan. She was instantly enlightened. Could it be because the two of them were familiar? Coincidentally, Madame Ge was afraid that her daughter would come back dirty again after running out crazily. So she bid Madame Dai and Yundong farewell and hurriedly chased after her. She could not tell how familiar the two of them were. Therefore, after Madame Ge left, Madame Dai asked curiously, "Yundong, is Mr. Qin Wenzheng very familiar with that young Master Xiao?" Thinking about it, she felt that it was possible. Her son had a high evaluation of Xiaoqing Yuan, who seemed to be a good talent. Therefore, be it Dai Wenhua or Qin Wenzheng, they could become friends with him. For Xiaoqing Yuan's sake, it was reasonable for Qin Wenzheng to attend Gu Yundong's ceremony. Gu Yundong followed Madame Dai's finger and looked out of the window. Xiaoqing Yuan and Qin Wenzheng were indeed chatting enthusiastically. They were probably talking about the cowpox vaccination method. Yesterday, Qin Wenzheng must have finished reading Brother Xiao's handwritten notebook and had stacks of questions in his heart. Now that they had met, he naturally couldn't wait to ask. Gu Yundong smiled and nodded. Yes, they're quite familiar with each other. Madame Dai asked again, "Then how did they meet? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 920. No, I reject. As far as she knew, although Qin Wenzheng looked easy to get along with, he actually had a line in his heart. He had always kept a certain distance from others, and was not so easy to get along with. Not to mention looking so enthusiastic. Looking at the way he spoke to Xiaoqing Yuan, she felt that Xiaoqing Yuan was the cold and distant person. Qin Wenzheng's impression in her mind was somehow changed, making her find it unbelievable. Gu Yundong thought about it. How did they meet? She remembered. Qin Wenzheng seems to like to eat wild animals. Brother Xiao brought Lu Wei into the mountains to hunt 2 roe deers and gave them to him. That's probably it. Lu Wei also came early in the morning, but he liked fun. The moment he arrived, he brought the children out to play. Madame Dai was enlightened. So that was the case. She had heard from her son that Xiaoqing Yuan often went deep into the mountains and even brought him in to hunt, so it was not strange. Nie Shuang and Bao Lingyue, who had yet to speak, were shocked when they heard their conversation. "Auntie, is the Mr. Qin you're talking about the one outside the door? The 18-year-old top scholar?" Yes, that's him." Nie Shuang and Bao Lingyue looked at each other and silently looked at Qin Wenzheng, who was speaking at the door, and sucked in a cold breath. Alive. This was Qin Wenzheng in the flesh. Today, at this moment, at Gu Yundong's house, at Gu Yundong's coming-of-age ceremony, they actually saw the 18-year-old young genius. Excitement, thrill, and an uncontrollable urge to go forward. Bao Lingyue grabbed Nie Shuang's hand tightly and said, "If I tell Big Brother that Qin Wenzheng is still alive, he will definitely be very happy. Oh my god, I actually saw Qin Wenzheng. I grew up listening to his stories. My brother must be especially envious of me. I have to go to him and tell him about it." Me too. I feel like I'm dreaming now. What should I do? I want to go up and talk to him, but isn't this too presumptuous? I don't think so. She has a wife and a daughter. Let's not ruin their relationship. Yes. That was his wife and daughter just now. His wife is also good-looking. They're simply a match made in heaven. And his daughter is too cute. Gu Yundong was speechless. Were women so good at chasing celebrities nowadays? She felt that the two of them were about to faint. Seeing how excited the two of them were, Gu Yundong finally understood why the two of them could become good friends. Indeed, they were like-minded. Oh right, there was also her father. He seemed to admire Qin Wenzheng very much. That guy is a sinister and cunning fellow. Don't be deceived by his appearance. Gu Yundong complained in her heart. If not for the fact that she had to maintain her makeup that was done at the cost being dragged out of bed early in the morning, she really wanted to rush up and shake the two of them awake. However, very quickly, this fire of excitement consumed her. Nie Shuang grabbed her hand. "Sister Yundong, we're good friends, right? That Mr. Qin is your fiancé's good friend, right? Then can you invite him, no, beg him to write a piece of calligraphy for me? And me. And me." Gu Yundong's expression was cold. Beg him? No, I reject. Seeing that she was unwilling, Madame Dai thought about Qin Wenzheng's personality, and was unwilling to make things difficult for her. Hence, she gave the two of them a look. Alright, have you forgotten what day it is today? It's almost time. Don't delay, Yundong. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 921. Coming of Age Ceremony. Although Nie Shuang and the others were a little disappointed, they still knew the severity of the matter and quickly shut up. Only then did Madame Dai say in a low voice, "If you really want to meet him, why don't you ask Mrs. Qin? Didn't you see her just now?" Nie Shuang said uncomfortably, "Well, it's not good, right? After all, we're not familiar with Mrs. Qin." Bao Lingyue, who was standing at the side, nodded crazily. Although she was a friendly person, Mrs. Qin was Mr. Qin's wife. She felt that this was too abrupt. What if Mrs. Qin misunderstood them and thought that they had other intentions, and it would backfire? Madame Dai was speechless. Just as she was about to say something, Madame Gu entered. Behind her were Gu Yunke and Qin Anning. The two young girls held hands and had lollipops in their hands. They ran happily to Gu Yundong. "Wow, big sis, you're really good looking today. You're the best." Gu Yundong pinched her little face. "You guys look good too." "Sister Yundong, Aunt Ku said that it's time and asked us to inform you." Madame Dai stood up and said, That's right. It's time to go out. Nie Shuang Lingyue, don't just stand here. The coming of age ceremony has begun." Everyone quickly got up and went to their positions. When it was time, Gu Dajiang coughed lightly and said nervously, "Today my daughter, Gu Yundong, will hold her coming-of-age ceremony. Thank you for coming. Now my daughter, Gu Yundong, will officially begin her coming-of-age ceremony." As soon as he finished speaking, he felt a lump in his throat. His daughter had really grown up. He thought back to when she was just born. Because of an accident, she was born prematurely and almost couldn't be saved. He didn't expect her to grow up in the blink of an eye. Gu Dajiang couldn't help but secretly exhale. Soon, Lan Huar walked forward, washed her hands, and took her place on the west step. Then, Gu Yundong walked out and faced the south. She bowed to the guests and knelt on the witness seat. Then, Madame Dai got up and washed her hands. Dong Xiulan presented her with a handkerchief and a hairpin. Madame Dai walked to Gu Yundong and recited a congratulatory speech. Then, she combed Gu Yundong's hair and put the hairpin on it. After that, the ritual repeated 3 times. After the entire process, even Gu Yundong felt extremely tired. Aunt Ku was the one who arranged the coming-of-age ceremony. If it was a farmer's family, there would not be so many rules. But Aunt Ke felt that Gu Yundong's future would be limitless and she would soar into the sky. Naturally, her coming-of-age ceremony had to be grand. Be it Gu Dajiang or eldest Aunt Gu, they both agreed with this. For a woman, her coming-of-age ceremony was a very important day. If the conditions allowed, she naturally could not treat it casually. After the ceremony, Gu Yundong finally heaved a sigh of relief. Then, she sent the guests off with Gu Dajiang and Madame Yang. When most of them had left, she returned to her room. After resting for a while, she changed into a simple dress again. Just as she was about to go out, a few familiar voices came from outside. She focused slightly and quickly distinguished the voices. This was Nie Shuang and Bao Lingyue talking. However, the two of them only passed by Gu Yundong's room and quickly left. Hearing them mention Qin Wenzheng again, Gu Yundong raised her eyebrows. Could it be that they were really going to ask Qin Wenzheng for his calligraphy? She couldn't help but laugh. Go for it, fangirls. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 922. Don't do such a demeaning thing, however. While the fangirls were excited and their eyes were filled with desire, they did not dare to go forward and talk to Qin Wenzheng, let alone ask him for calligraphy or paintings. The two of them could only hide in a corner and look in Qin Wenzheng's direction, muttering softly. When Lu Wei came over, he happened to see them putting their heads against each other, looking sneaky. Could these two people be plotting something? Were they trying to do something bad during Gu Yundong's coming-of-age ceremony? Lu Wei recalled the last time he went to the Wang family's banquet with his elder sister. Those women had put on a big show that made him gasp in amazement. He completely understood what it meant to scheme. His sister had told him that these women from the big families fought all day long and liked to make a fuss on such big days. Wasn't today Gu Yundong's big day? These two women said that they were Gu Yundong's friends, but he knew that Gu Yundong had never invited them. They had come uninvited. Lu Wei's expression instantly became serious. He quietly leaned toward them and listened. Then he heard their nervous and suppressed voices. Master Qin is indeed a talented man. No wonder the late emperor wanted him to be a royal prince. I want to ask him for a piece of calligraphy. Really, I only want one. I have no regrets in this life. I don't dare to go forward. I don't dare either. It's not easy for me to meet him in person. Why can't I take a step forward? Lu Wei understood and immediately came to a realization. He knew that Qin Wenzheng was very popular, especially among women. It was said that when he was the top scholar and rode on a horse to travel the streets, more than half of the women in the capital had thrown flower handkerchiefs and pouches at him. They could even smash Qin Wenzheng until his entire body was covered in bags. Unexpectedly, other than the capital, he even described as divine in cities where he had never been seen, making the women even crazier. The two people in front of him were, "You want Qin Wenzheng's collection?" Lu Wei's sudden voice caused Nie Shuang and Bao Lingyue to be stunned for a moment before they turned their heads around. Nie Shuang naturally knew Lu Wei. The last time Gu Yundong's shop opened for business, Lu Wei drank a large cup of pearl milk tea and left a deep impression on her. Later on, they met twice in the prefecture capital's Jinxia restaurant. Now that she heard this question, she immediately remembered. Previously, Sister Yundong had said that Qin Wenzheng and Xiao Qingyuan knew each other. It seemed to be this young Master Lu who pulled the strings. In that case, Lu Wei was also very familiar with Mr. Qin? Nie Shuang quickly said, "Can you help us get two?" "Sure, just you wait." Lu Wei was very generous and agreed immediately. The two of them looked at him gratefully. Lu Wei tidied his hair and immediately walked towards Qin Wenzheng. However, not long after, he returned with a dejected expression. "Didn't it work?" Nie Shuang asked. Lu Wei nodded and sighed. "Brother Qin is not willing." Sigh. Bao Lingyue was very disappointed. Nie Shuang, on the other hand, looked at Lu Wei in surprise. She didn't expect this young master of the Lu family to admit it so straightforwardly. Didn't men usually care about their face? Why didn't he make up for it at this time? Bao Lingyue suddenly thought of something and quickly said, "Isn't young Master Xiao familiar with Lord Qin? You are also familiar with young Master Xiao. Why don't you ask young Master Xiao for help?" Lu Wei looked up and glanced at her. Xiao Qingyuan wouldn't do such a demeaning thing. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 923. Sister Yundong be Euphemistic Bao Lingyue. Nie Shuang. Are you scolding us or yourself? But soon Lu Wei's eyes lit up. Yes, we can look for Gu Yundong. She must have a way. Nie Shuang said. We've thought about it too. But today is Sister Yundong's coming-of-age ceremony. We can't trouble her. She's been busy for the entire day and is resting in her room. How is she resting? Isn't she there? Lu Wei pointed behind them. Nie Shuang turned around and saw Gu Yundong walking over. She seemed to be in good spirits. Nie Shuang and Bao Lingyue looked at each other and hurried forward. They grabbed Gu Yundong's arms from both sides. Sister Yundong. Gu Yundong shuddered. Speak properly. Calm, Sister Yundong. We want Mr. Qin's calligraphy and paintings. Sister Yundong, go and look for Master Xiao. He will definitely listen to you and help, okay? Gu Yundong was really afraid of them. All right. I'll go. She pulled her hand out forcefully, returned to her room, and came out with a brush, ink, paper, and inkstone. Then she walked towards Qin Wenzheng. Nie Shuang and Bao Lingyue were stunned and quickly said, Sister Yundong, young Master Xiao is over there. Gu Yundong nodded. I know, but didn't you want Qin Wenzheng's calligraphy? But, Gu Yundong quickened her pace and arrived in front of Qin Wenzheng in a few strides. Master Qin, give me 2 pieces of calligraphy. Nie Shuang and Bao Lingyue. Aren't you being too direct? Be tactful. What if Mr. Qin gets angry? Qin Wenzheng glanced at the brush and paper in her hand and snorted. Nie Shuang and Qin Shuang no longer held any hope. As expected, Mr. Qin was unhappy. You still have the cheek to ask for my calligraphy? You should calculate how much you gave away yesterday. Your brother alone took 4 of my paintings, not to mention the other students. My entire study's calligraphy and paintings were ruined by you. If I wasn't magnanimous, I would have cut ties with you. Nie Shuang and Bao Lingyue. What did they hear? Gu Yundong resisted the urge to roll her eyes. He was magnanimous? He was clearly the one who schemed against her and did not dare to retaliate. Now he was talking as if he was very noble. How shameless. It was as if she really cared about his calligraphy. Just as she was thinking, Madame Guest's voice came from the other side. Husband, aren't we leaving? Qin Wenzheng quickly replied. Well, leave immediately. Wait for me for a moment. With that, he took the tray from Gu Yundong's hand and turned to walk to the table at the side. Then he muttered as he wrote, On account that today is your coming-of-age ceremony, I won't argue with you. Then he wrote down 2 lines of words, all of which were blessings for the good and healthy. After he finished writing, he blew on it and handed it to Gu Yundong. Take it. I'll go back first today. After taking a few steps, he stopped and turned around. By the way, I heard from your father that he plans to take the elementary scholar examination after the new year. It'll help you solve the problem of the elementary scholar endorsement. However, it's not convenient to eat and drink in the examination hall. When you have time, think about how to make something delicious for your father. Gu Yundong nodded. Thank you. Qin Wenzheng left. Gu Yundong turned around with 2 pieces of calligraphy in her hand and met the dumbfounded expressions of Nie Shuang and the others. You guys, what's wrong? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 924. She lost. Nie Shuang swallowed his saliva and looked at Gu Yundong, then at the calligraphy in her hand. Then she turned to look at the door. Qin Wenzheng's carriage was getting further and further away. Bao Lingyue's eyes were wide open as well. Even Madame Dai, who was standing at the side, had a look of astonishment on her face. She had heard what Qin Wenzheng and Gu Yundong said just now and felt that it was unreal. Even when facing her master, Qin Wenzheng was polite and steady. But when facing Gu Yundong, it was as if his composure did not exist at all. Be it his tone or expression, there was a hint of indulgence. It was as if she was his younger sister. He should take care of her and try his best to satisfy any requests. After a long time, Shuang asked, Sister Yundong, are you very familiar with that Lord Qin? This familiarity was not like what they had guessed. It was not based on Xiaoqing Yuan, the middleman. Gu Yundong nodded naturally and asked, will he come to my coming-of-age ceremony if he's not familiar with me? Shuang and Bao Lingyue both covered their faces. That's right, that's right. How could they have overlooked this? Come if he only had a good relationship with Xiaoqing Yuan. Even if Gu Yundong and Xiaoqing Yuan were engaged, Qin Wenzheng would not have had to come personally to attend the coming-of-age ceremony. At most, he would have asked his wife, Madame Gu, to bring their daughter over. Only when he had dealings with Gu Yundong himself would he be so prudent to bring his family to her door. He did not leave immediately after the coming-of-age ceremony. Moreover, what did Mr. Qin say before he left? He said that she didn't have to worry about Gu Dajiang's exam. It was just that this was a little different from what Shuang and the others had imagined. They had clearly heard that Qin Wenzheng was a rather cold and arrogant person, but they could not tell at all just now. That wasn't right either. When he rejected Lu Wei, he was very clean and cold. Gu Yundong did not know what they were thinking. If she could hear them, she would definitely despise them. Qin Wenzheng? Arrogant? What did that have to do with anything? Shuang felt a little regretful. If she had known that Gu Yundong and Qin Wenzheng were so familiar, she would have taken the opportunity to say a few words to Qin Wenzheng. At least her idol would know her. Bao Lingyue was still a little puzzled. Yundong, since you and Lord Qin are friends, then why did you two speak as if you were very resentful just now? Speaking of this, Gu Yundong started to hold a grudge. Because he just tricked me yesterday. Let me tell you, Qin Wenzheng is indeed quite good-looking, but we can't judge people by their appearance. Some people are very... Before she could finish speaking, Shuang suddenly exclaimed, he tricked you. Sister Yundong, you're already so smart, but Mr. Qin actually tricked you. As expected, a genius is indeed a genius. A man like Mr. Qin, who is not only handsome but also talented, is really rare in the world. That's right. He can trick Yundong. His brain is indeed very useful. Gu Yundong was speechless. Was that the main point? Was that it? Isn't your fan filter too strong? She wanted to say that Qin Wenzheng was sinister and cunning. You two ignorant girls, don't be deceived by his appearance. In the end, you actually interpret sinister and cunning as talented and meticulous? She was the one who had lost. Goodbye. Gu Yundong stuffed the 2 pieces of calligraphy into their arms and returned to her room. She didn't want to talk. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 925. Visit. After the coming-of-age ceremony, Gu Yundong felt much more relaxed. Shuang and Bao Lingyue finally calmed down after being excited for a long time with Qin Wenzheng's calligraphy. They did not plan to leave yet, and asked Gu Yundong to bring them around the village. They would rest for 2 days before returning to the prefectural city. It was the same for Madame Dai. It was rare for her to come out, and it was quite quiet in this countryside. For the past 2 days, she felt refreshed, especially when it came to what she wanted to eat. She could go to the backyard to pick it herself. This feeling of doing it personally made them feel exceptionally novel. As for Gu Dajiang, he didn't dare to slack off at all because he had to take the preparation scholar exam in February. Although he was confident and Qin Wenzheng said that there was no problem, he was still crazily absorbing all kinds of knowledge. Therefore, he still had to return to the prefecture capital's Tianhai Academy. On the other hand, Madame Yang and Kiki stayed behind. It would be the new year in a month or so. There was no need to travel back and forth on such cold days. Gu Dajiang would have felt sorry for them. Therefore, on the morning of the 2nd day of the coming-of-age ceremony, only Gu Dajiang, who was going to continue studying at Tianhai Academy, and Gu Dafeng, who was going back to take care of Bianhan, left the Gu family. Come after the 2 of them left, Shuang and Bao Lingyue held Gu Yundong's hand, wanting her to show them around. It was rare for them to come here, so Gu Yundong naturally had to play the role of a host. She brought them around the village. Actually, the villages were similar. However, Because the lives of the people in Yongfu village were getting better and better, many houses had been renovated and looked much newer. As such, the village richer than the other villages. However, this road, after Nieshuang almost sprained her ankle for the second time, she finally could not help but sigh. This road is a little bad. If only it was as flat as the road in the prefecture capital. She had almost stepped on dog excrement just now. Gu Yundong lowered her eyes and looked at the uneven road. She seemed to be in deep thought. Then, she brought the three of them to the workshop to take a look. Nieshuang was very excited. Your workshop is interesting. It's actually divided into several areas. It's simple and clear. It looks clean. Gu Yundong was not worried that they would learn it after a rough tour. The method of jam and preserved fruits was not a secret. Many people knew it. Her shop's business was good because of the different ingredient. At least for now, no shop sold products made of white sugar like hers. However, Gu Yundong did not bring them to the area where the white sugar was produced. She only let them take a look at the finished product. However, Nieshuang and Bao Lingyue were still extremely excited to see so much white sugar at once. Their eyes lit up and they almost pounced on it. Of course, they also had white sugar at home, but there was very little of it, unlike here, where there were piles of it. After visiting the workshop, the three of them were very satisfied. After staying in Yongfu village for 2 days, Nieshuang and Bao Lingyue even wanted to enter the mountains, but were firmly rejected by Gu Yundong. What mountain? They could sprain their ankles just by walking along the village road. Yet they dared to enter the mountains? She was probably going to carry them back. Nieshuang pouted. I've climbed mountains before. Mountains with steps, right? Gu Yundong glanced at her. Nieshuang. Nieshuang was very disappointed that her wish was not fulfilled. However, she had already stayed here for a few days. It was indeed time to go back. The next morning, the three of them packed their bags and left Yongfu village happily with a lot of stuff that Gu Yundong had given them. Gu Yundong sent them to the village entrance. When she returned, she looked up and saw a messenger pigeon flying over her head. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 926. Rejected. Not going. A messenger pigeon? Gu Yundong raised her eyebrows and followed the messenger pigeon. As expected, it stopped outside Xiaoqing Yuan's courtyard. She walked in directly. The messenger pigeon was indeed standing outside the courtyard. Mao was feeding it with the millet. When he saw Gu Yundong enter, he immediately greeted her. Miss, are you here to look for young master? Young master is in the study. Yes, I'll go in and take a look. Gu Yundong reached out to touch the messenger pigeon before continuing inside. Xiaoqing Yuan had indeed just opened a letter from the pigeon's leg. There was a large number of words written in the letter. Most of them were praise for him, while the other half conveyed a message. Let him go to the capital. This pigeon belonged to Dr. Song Dejiang. Xiaoqing Yuan had never met Dr. Song, but they knew each other's existence. Gu Yundong had seen that Xiaoqing Yuan was talented in medicine, and had a photographic memory of the medical book that Dr. Song had given him. He developed a good medicine for internal injuries according to the medical book. After other medicines were successful, Gu Yundong wrote a letter to Song Dejiang and asked him to send several medical books. Later on, Xiaoqing Yuan opened his own pharmacy. He directly contacted Song Dejiang about medicine. After a while, the two of them became familiar with each other. Gradually, Song Dejiang admired Xiaoqing Yuan even more. This messenger pigeon was the way the two of them communicated. Recently, Xiaoqing Yuan had been researching on the cowpox vaccination method to deal with smallpox. He had not told Song Dejiang about this before because Yundong had racked her brains to think of a way to make a contribution to the emperor. Before he succeeded, he had to keep it a secret. However, after they reported this matter to Qin Wenzheng a few days ago, the latter quickly sent the letter to the capital. Since the emperor knew, Song Dejiang naturally knew too. As a result, he immediately sent a pigeon to ask Xiaoqing Yuan to make a trip to the capital, where the two of them would discuss the cowpox vaccination method in detail. However, after Xiaoqing Yuan finished reading the letter, he frowned. After a pause, he took a brush and paper from the side with a cold expression and wrote a single word on it. No. Just as he finished writing, Gu Yundong came in. When she saw such a huge word on the paper, she was stunned for a moment and asked, "What's wrong?" Xiao Qingyuan didn't hide it from her. Song Dejiang asked me to go to the capital, but I rejected him. It would be the new year in a month or so. He was not willing to go to the capital at this time. It was so cold that he could not even make it back for the new year. After saying that, he folded the paper and compressed it into a small roll. Then he asked Amao to bring the messenger pigeon in, and stuffed the roll into the small bamboo tube tied to the messenger pigeon's leg. The paper was too big, and it took some effort to stuff in. Gu Yundong silently turned her head. "Brother Xiao, you only wrote a single word. Actually, there was no need to use such a large piece of paper. Really." When Song Dejiang received such a thick scroll later, he would think that you had a lot to say. When he opened it and read it, he would definitely jump in anger. After stuffing the paper in, Xiao Qingyuan let go. Amao was about to go out when there was a sudden sound outside. The three people in the study turned around and saw another messenger pigeon on the windowsill, jumping. There was also a small bamboo tube tied to its leg. Gu Yundong and Xiao Qingyuan looked at each other. "This is still Dr. Song's messenger pigeon, right?" "Yeah." Amao quickly carried the messenger pigeon over and took out the note from the bamboo tube. "If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 927. Advice. Xiao Qingyuan frowned. As expected, it was from Song Dejiang. As if he knew that Xiao Qingyuan would reject his previous letter, he went straight to the point. "Kid, the cowpox vaccination method is very important. It concerns the lives of the people in the world. You have to come to the capital. Even if you reject me now, someone will definitely come to invite you personally in a few days. I'll wait for you here. Don't worry, a house has been prepared. You'll have a place to stay the moment you come." Xiao Qingyuan frowned tightly. Indeed, one after another. He should have known that once the cowpox vaccination method reached the capital, he would not be able to stay out of it. Gu Yundong dragged Wenzheng out and whipped him again in her heart. If he had told them earlier that Xiao Qingyuan was not the third young master of the Tao family, they would not have revealed the cowpox vaccination method at this time. Perhaps when things became clearer, or when they had some ideas, they would send a pigeon to Song Dejiang and give him a headache. Both of them knew that Xiao Qingyuan's trip to the capital was inevitable. Gu Yundong was reluctant. "When are you leaving?" Xiao Qingyuan was even more unhappy. "Then let's wait for someone to invite us before leaving." Gu Yundong nodded. The two of them originally thought that this would take at least a few days. They did not expect that the next afternoon, Wenzheng would bring two guests to the Xiao family. Looking at the travel-worn appearance of the two of them, he knew that they must have rushed over. It seemed that the current emperor really valued this important discovery. That made sense. If it was confirmed that the cowpox vaccination method could prevent smallpox, it would be a political achievement for him. In the future, it would probably be a very heavy mark in history. Moreover, for the civilians and the royal family, smallpox was fatal. No one could do anything to it. Since ancient times, many royal princes had died from smallpox. Therefore, the emperor was very anxious. Not to mention that it was not the new year yet. Even on the first day of the new year, Xiao Qingyuan had to make a trip to the capital. Gu Yundong had no choice but to prepare Xiao Qingyuan's luggage. Gu Yundong did not know how long this trip would take. For a moment, she wanted to go with them. The atmosphere between the two of them was a little silent. Wenzheng couldn't help but touch his nose and say softly, "Don't worry, it definitely won't be long. Although it's a long way to the capital, hasn't Xiao Qingyuan already succeeded? As long as he explains what he knows clearly, those imperial physicians will be busy with the rest." Gu Yundong could not help but glare at him again. Then she turned around and continued packing Xiao Qingyuan's things. She prepared a lot of food for him and reminded him worriedly, "When you're outside, don't eat anything random, especially those hard and stiff steamed buns. Don't eat them. It's not good for your stomach. Even in the wild, you should at least heat them with fire and eat them when they're hot." Xiao Qingyuan looked at her back and felt like his wife was helping him pack his things when he was going out. Hearing her voice, even his heart felt warm. Also, you have to be careful. Bring your bow, arrow, and dagger with you. Didn't you get some poison and knockout powder? Remember to keep it well. If you encounter someone with good martial arts, fight if you can. If you can't, use the poison. If the poison doesn't work, escape quickly. In short, your life is most important. Qin Wenzheng couldn't stand it anymore. They were only going to the capital, not to participate in the martial arts conference. Shaking his head, he quickly left. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 928. Let's get married. As soon as Qin Wenzheng left, Xiao Qingyuan went forward and hugged Gu Yundong from behind. Don't worry, I'll take good care of myself. You two, wait for me at home. If you encounter anything that you can't resolve, look for Qin Wenzheng. I'll take care of myself and come back as soon as possible. Also, the capital is big and has many good things. I'll also ask around to see if there's any news of Bai Muzi. Gu Yundong lowered her head slightly and hummed. There are many high-ranking officials and nobles in the capital, and the waters are very deep. I wonder if anyone will find trouble with you. However, Qin Wenzheng will definitely make arrangements for this. You don't talk much, but you still have to build a good relationship with the two people who escort you along the way. Ask more about the situation in the capital. You have to know what to do. Xiao Qingyuan's eyes lit up. He enjoyed her nagging. In the past, he really didn't talk much and almost didn't interact with anyone. Now he had changed. He had someone he cared about, and he had opened a shop. As long as he was willing, basic socializing weren't difficult for him. Also, Gu Yundong suddenly became fierce as she spoke. I heard that the women in the capital are very bold. When they meet a good-looking man, they can't help but give him a pouch or a handkerchief. There are also those who are shrewish and snatch others. You have to protect yourself, understand? You're not allowed to flirt with anyone. Qin Wenzheng was an example. How popular was he back then? It was said that he even had a few bumps because of the pouches that were thrown at him. In her heart, Xiao Qingyuan was much more handsome than Qin Wenzheng, and was very eye-catching. Xiao Qingyuan turned her around, held her face, and kissed her heavily. His eyes were filled with smiles. Okay. Gu Yundong pursed her lips and could not help but laugh. By the time he was done packing, Xiao Qingyuan had 2 big bags. He did not know what Gu Yundong had stuffed into them, but they were bulging. One could tell that it was a lot. Gu Yundong thought that it was too little. It was a pity that he did not have a spatial storage. Otherwise, she would not have to work so hard. After everything was prepared, the few of them rested in the Xiao house for the night. The next morning, Xiao Qingyuan brought a Mao and left with the people from the capital. The Gu and Zheng families had woken up early to send him off. Even Kiki was rubbing her eyes in Madame Yang's arms. She waved at Xiao Qingyuan and said in a childish voice, "Brother Xiao, have a safe trip. Kiki will miss you." Xiao Qingyuan nodded and scanned everyone's faces. Finally, his eyes landed on Gu Yundong. "I'll be back as soon as possible." Gu Yundong nodded. Xiao Qingyuan took a deep breath and did not say anything else. He led the horse to the entrance of the village. The rest of the Gu family sent them off at the entrance, but Gu Yundong walked a few more steps and only stopped at the village entrance. Seeing that Xiao Qingyuan was about to mount his horse, she suddenly said, "Wait." Xiao Qingyuan was stunned and came back. "What's wrong?" Gu Yundong looked behind him. Mao was a sensible person. The other 2 also understood and immediately retreated a distance, leaving them alone. However, one of them reminded him, "Young Master Xiao, make it short. We have to set off as soon as possible." Xiao Qingyuan nodded. "Got it." After the 3 of them were far away, Gu Yundong took a deep breath and looked up at him with a smile. "When you come back from the capital, we'll get married." Xiao Qingyuan widened his eyes and looked at her in disbelief. What did you just say? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 929. Something's wrong. Gu Yundong pursed her lips and repeated, "When you come back, we'll get married." "All right. Xiao Qingyuan's eyes seemed to be emitting light. It was so intense that it almost swallowed Gu Yundong. He reached out and hugged her tightly. This is what you said. Don't go back on your word. I'll come back as soon as possible. Okay, be careful. Mao, who was far away, widened his eyes. Quickly split up. It was fine if they were hugging at home, but this was outside and it was in the village. There were people coming and going at the entrance of the village. You would probably be drowned by saliva. He quickly turned his head to look left and right. Fortunately, other than the two guards beside him, no one else passed by. However, the two guards were also shocked. Xiao Qingyuan and Gu Yundong quickly separated. He no longer hesitated, and suddenly turned around to jump on the horse. Let's go. Come. After saying that, he shook the reins first and the horse raised its hooves and rushed out. The three people behind him were stunned and hurriedly got on their horses to chase after him. Why was he suddenly so eager to leave? Wasn't he reluctant to leave just now? Gu Yundong was still standing at the entrance of the village, watching the few of them walk further and further away until they completely disappeared. After a long time, there were already villagers walking back and forth around her. They even greeted her. Only then did Gu Yundong move her stiff body and turn to walk into the village. She was still not used to returning to the Gu house. A few days ago, there were still many people at home. Father, eldest aunt Madame Dai, and the others had all left. Even brother Xiao had gone to the capital. Gu Yundong suddenly felt empty and uncomfortable. Big Black limped out and rubbed against her calf. Gu Yundong reached out and patted its head. You're quite energetic now. You're wild every day. But you have to stay at home for the next period of time. Brother Xiao has gone to the capital, and no one will bring you into the mountains to play. Big Black wasn't used to coming to Yongfu village at first. Even after its leg was cured, it still looked tired all day. Later, Xiao Qingyuan saw that it had completely recovered, so he led it into the mountain. After returning, it was very excited and wanted to run into the mountains every other day. Xiao Qingyuan didn't have that much time, and could only bring it there occasionally. However, Big Black slowly adapted to life in the Gu family. In addition, the Gu family's food was good. Yinshu and Yuanji liked it very much. They would leave a portion of delicious food for it, and take it out for a walk at night. Big Black was limping now, but its fur was black and shiny, and its eyes were sharper. It looked very energetic. Big Black seemed to understand Gu Yundong's words. It made a whimpering sound, but no one knew if it was sad or regretful. Gu Yundong smiled and led it into the house. After Xiao Qingyuan left, Gu Yundong was really depressed for 2 days. She felt that something was wrong. In the past, when she wanted to talk to him, it was as if she could see him the moment she turned around. He was almost everywhere. Now it took her a while to realize that he had gone to the capital. He was probably still on the way, right? Gu Yundong patted her face, and did not think about him for the time being. She had her own things to do, which were also important. Early that morning, Gu Yundong put on her clothes and cloak, and strode towards the village chief Chen Liang's house. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 930. Buying land and building roads. The weather was cold, and there was nothing to do in the fields. Chen Liang did not want to go out either. Now that Niu Dan was going to the county city to study on the Gu family's carriage, there was no need for him to wake up early in the morning to take him to school. This made him feel much more relaxed. When Gu Yundong came in, he was warming himself in front of the brazier and talking to Madame Zhou, who was doing needlework. Hearing the sound, Madame Zhou hurriedly stood up and came out to welcome her. Yundong, why are you here at this time? Come in quickly. It's cold outside. Come and warm yourself by the fire. Gu Yundong smiled and sat opposite Chen Liang. Madame Zhou poured her a cup of hot tea, and she placed it in her palm. I'm here to see Uncle Chen. I have something to discuss with him. What is it? Tell me. I want to buy some land at the foot of our mountain. Uncle Chen was stunned. Your house isn't big enough. Gu Yundong smiled. Of course not. Uncle Chen, you also know that I've found my aunt. Their household registration has already been moved to Yongfu village. It's just that they came late, unlike back then when we could directly be given land. So if we want to build a house, we have to buy some land, right? Liang nodded. That's true. There's also my uncle. Although I haven't found him, I want to buy some land first. It'll be convenient for us to be neighbors in the future. Oh right, Shen Sitian wants to buy a piece too. The land she wants is next door to the Zhou family's house. It's not very big. Shen Sitian made a few large embroidery pieces, and Gu Yundong brought them to the prefectural city to sell. Their price was quite beautiful. Hence, she had some savings now. She had the money to build a house. Gu Yundong was worried about her living alone, but that did not stop her from buying the land first. Liang was speechless. Why did she buy so much in one go? When did the foot of the mountain become so popular? He swallowed and nodded silently. Sure. Gu Yundong looked at him with a smile. Liang acted quickly. In the afternoon, he went to the government office to settle the matter and gave Gu Yundong the title deeds. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 931. Liang is excited currently. There were two paths from the entrance of Yongfu village, but they were not wide. In particular, there was a stretch of road that was especially difficult to travel on. There was a small uphill and it was narrow. At most, it could only allow a carriage or an ox cart to pass. The workshop needed a lot of fruit now. Every time they transported fruits, they had to move carefully. She had learned that the carriages could pass through that road. But if they tied a basket on both sides of the carriage, it would not be able to pass. Moreover, the things in the carriage fell easily. Once they fell, they would be snatched back by the children in the village and dispersed. Every time the fruits were transported back to the village, it was when the children were the happiest. Everyone followed behind and stared eagerly, hoping that the fruits would fall to the ground. There were also villagers who were very dissatisfied with the fact that the Gu family's carriages and carts often passed by their houses. They said that the horses peed on the ground and the stench was overwhelming. Of course, these people did not dare to say it in front of her, but they muttered behind her back, making Father Tong, who often drove the carriage, furious. His horses did not poop or pee in front of other people's houses at all. This was slander. But no one believed him. So even if Gu Yundong wanted to build this road, there was nothing she could do. She could not tear down someone else's house and widen the road, right? Liang also felt that it made sense. He nodded and said, "It's indeed not suitable. Come, if you build the road from the Gu family's workshop to the village, how do you plan to do it?" Liang asked. Gu Yundong had considered this and discussed it with Tong Ping and the others. The Gu family's workshop is also at the foot of the mountain. I want to build it straight. However, in this case, we either have to pass through two fields or pass through the He family's backyard. I'm wondering if I can negotiate with the He family. Madame Zhou found it strange. Why didn't you choose those two fields? Gu Yundong did not say anything. Liang glanced at her and said, "Think about who owns those two plots of land." The Li family. That's right. Compared to the Li family, who had a grudge against Xiaoqing Yuan, the He family was naturally the more suitable choice. Most importantly, the He family was poor. Their house was quite dilapidated, and there were not many fruits and vegetables planted in the courtyard. If she were to offer appropriate compensation, the other party might agree. As far as Madame Zhou knew, the He family was still relatively easy to talk to. If a road was built at their door, it would be extremely convenient for their family. Liang took a sip of tea and nodded after a moment of silence. All right, I'll talk to the He family. Although you said that the road is built for the convenience of the Gu family's workshop, it's also a great kindness to the village. It's beneficial to Yongfu village. The village has to come up with some rules. When this road was built, it would be convenient for the Gu family. However, the days in Yongfu village were getting better and better. In the future, there would definitely be more and more families with carriages and ox carts. Even Liang had been thinking of buying a mule cart some time ago. If he bought it later, he would definitely have to take the main road to make it convenient. Liang was very excited as he thought about it. Constructing a road? Yongfu village was about to have its own road. When he was the village chief, he was really too excited to be able to facilitate such a big event for the village. How about this? In the afternoon, I'll discuss with sixth grandfather and the others to see how to deal with this matter. You come too, and everyone will come up with ideas. Also, building the road is a huge matter. After we've discussed it, I still have to go to town and talk to the mayor. Gu Yundong nodded. Of course. You can't just build a road so rashly. Chen Liang paused and suddenly remembered that she had bought several foundations yesterday. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 932. You cunning girl. The way Chen Liang looked at Gu Yundong changed instantly. He pointed at her. All right, you cunning girl. Gu Yundong looked innocent. What's wrong with me? I didn't do anything. She smiled and stood up. Then I'll have to trouble Uncle Chen for the rest. I'll go back first. Shall I wait for good news from Uncle Chen? Go, just go. Chen Liang was a little vexed and did not want to see her. The corners of Gu Yundong's mouth curled up slightly. She bade farewell to Madame Zhou and turned to leave the village chief's house. As soon as she left, Madame Zhou, who was confused, could not help but ask, "What did you mean just now? Why did you scold her out of the blue?" When did I scold someone? Chen Liang suddenly raised his head and asked in shock. Who did he scold? Why didn't he have any impression of it? Madame Zhou pointed at the door. Didn't you just say that Yundong is very cunning? Isn't she cunning? Chen Liang said. She said that she wanted to build a road for the village today, but she bought a few pieces of foundation yesterday. Madame Zhou looked confused. Chen Liang felt even more vexed and could only explain. Think about it. The road she mentioned is built from the foot of the mountain to the entrance of the village. It's the closest to those foundations. Just wait. When that road is built, if anyone wants to buy a foundation in the future, most of them will choose that area. If more people choose this, won't the price of the foundation increase? Everyone in Yongfu village was living a good life now. As far as he knew, there were a few families who wanted to buy another piece of land to build a house because they had too many people in the house and couldn't expand it in their original location. Madame Zhou understood now and immediately clapped her hands. "Io, isn't that so? Husband, let's hurry up and buy a piece of land over there while everyone doesn't know about this. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 933. The He family's request. It was a big deal to build roads in the village. Chen Liang was the village chief, but he had to discuss it with the respected elders in the village. Other than the sixth grandfather, there were also a few families with great seniors. Everyone sat down and discussed this matter. When they heard that they were going to build a road for the village, these elders were all excited. There was nothing they did not agree to. Even if there were difficulties, it was fine. He just had to overcome them. The Gu family had already given them so much convenience. They could solve all the other small problems. Everyone reached an agreement without any objections. When Chen Liang came out of the sixth grandfather's house, his face was slightly red. Without delay, he went to the He family's house again. The He family did not have a strong presence in Yongfu village because of their remote position. Although it was not at the foot of the mountain, it was at the edge. There was a large field behind the house, so it was inconvenient to go out. There were a total of 4 members of the He family. He Shanchuan and his wife had a few-year-old son and a mother. He was not in good health. She could only lie in bed for 2/3 of the year, especially when the weather was too hot or cold. She took medicine all year round, so the He family could not save money. Mrs. He could only stay at home to take care of her child and mother-in-law. Then, she would clean up at home, plant some vegetables, and do some embroidery work. Only He Shanchuan was busy with the work in the field. The family was diligent and managed to make ends meet, but they were really poor. When Chen Liang came to explain the situation to the He family was stunned. Was he going to tear down their courtyard? Chen Liang was afraid that they would misunderstand, so he hurriedly said, "Of course it's not for free. The village will definitely compensate you. You can think about it carefully and see what you need. If it can be done, the village will definitely satisfy you. If it can't, well, think of another way. Chen Liang had discussed with the elders that it was only right for the village to provide the compensation that the He family needed. Yi Shanchuan's family fell silent. Chen Liang looked at the head of the family and said, "We also know that you can't bear to part with it. It's a pity to tear down this courtyard. However, it's a big matter in the village after all. I also hope that this road can be built. When the time comes, it'll be convenient for your family to go out. Of course, I won't force you. If you're really unwilling, we can expand the field to the side." "I agree." As soon as Chen Liang finished speaking, Yi Shanchuan looked up. The rest of the He family looked at him in surprise. Chen Liang's face immediately lit up. "You're really willing? Then, what compensation do you want?" "I want a foundation at the foot of the mountain, Mr. He said. Chen Liang was speechless. He looked at him strangely. He did not expect the guy to make such a request. "I don't need it to be too big. Just twice as big as this courtyard will be enough." Since it was compensation, this request was not too much. However, Chen Liang was a little curious. "What do you want that foundation for? Your family has money to build a house now?" "No, but I can circle it out and plant some vegetables first. When there's money, I'll build it." Chen Liang thought about it and agreed. "All right, I'll bring you the title deed later." After the He family was done, Chen Liang left. He then went to the Gu house and told Gu Yundong about He Shanchuan's request. Gu Yundong was also a little surprised. She had no impression of the He family or He Shanchuan. If she had not encountered this incident during the road construction and specially asked Tong'an, she would not have known that there was such a family in Yongfu village. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 934. The Gu family's benevolence. However, He Shanchuan's request was not too much. Chen Liang had already settled the only difficult matter. Next, he could start building the road. The next day, Chen Liang banged on the gong and drum, gathering everyone in the village to the grain sunning field. He stood on the steps and faced the curious and confused gazes of the villagers. He coughed lightly and said, "I've gathered everyone here today to announce something." "What's the matter?" "It's so early in the morning. I'm freezing to death." Chen Liang glared at that person and said, "Of course it's a good thing. If you're unwilling, go back and warm yourself up." "I was just joking. Uncle, don't mind me." That person quickly changed his face. When he heard that it was a good thing, he immediately became excited and did not feel cold anymore. He urged him, "What good thing? Uncle, quickly tell me." Everyone quickly let him speak. Moreover, they realized that not only was Chen Liang, the village chief, present, but even the sixth grandfather and the other elders were present. This was strange. What kind of good thing was it that even they, who usually did not like to go out, were here? Chen Liang looked around and said loudly, "Our village is going to build a road." "What, build a road?" The audience instantly buzzed and started whispering to each other. Someone could not help but ask, "Village chief, what's going on with this road construction? Is the government doing it for our village? Who's paying?" "That's right. Do we have to send one person to work from each family? Is there any salary?" "I won't go without a salary. We have a lot of work to do." Everyone had different thoughts. In this day and age, when it came to building bridges, roads, and dams, the first thing they thought of was forced labor. The late emperor was muddle-headed and tyrannical. The people who suffered were the commoners. The current county magistrate was not bad, but the previous county magistrate was not a good person. Many people in their village died from exhaustion during forced labor. Therefore, everyone was very resistant to building roads. Chen Liang saw that the villagers' thoughts were all crooked and hurriedly said, "Everyone calm down first. This road is not ordered by the government. It's the Gu family's benevolence. They paid to build a road for our village." The grain sunning field was indeed silent. Everyone looked at Gu Yundong, who was standing not far from the village chief, in disbelief. The Gu family was going to pay for it. Everyone's eyes lit up. Since the Gu family was paying, it was definitely not forced labor. Wasn't that a good thing? Someone asked anxiously. "Gu girl, how do we build this road?" Can we build it at our door? Let me tell you, the road outside our house is full of potholes. When it rains, if we step on it, half of our shoes will sink in. Gu Yundong glanced at that person. Oh, wasn't she the auntie who said that Gu Yundong's carriages pass by their house to poop and pee? You really have the cheek to say that. However, before she could say anything, someone immediately replied. What's there to build at your door? Didn't you hear what the village chief said? We're going to build a wide road. The path in front of your place is so narrow. How can it be considered a road? Unless your house is torn down. Why not? Our family's path can still allow the carriage to pass. The Gu family's girl's carriage often passes by our door. Our family's road is the main road of the village. It has to be done. As she spoke, she became a little smug. Gu girl, since you're so generous and benevolent, why don't you tidy up the outer wall of our house while you're building the road? Liang frowned and regretted what he said just now. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 935. No, Unrighteous. Gu Yundong and Liang looked at each other before walking up the stairs. The moment she went up, it was instantly quiet below. Then everybody heard her clear voice. The road I want to build is indeed a main road. At the very least, it can accommodate 2 carriages to pass through at the same time. Therefore, it won't be fixed on the original road. It will be a new one from the foot of the mountain to the village entrance. Everyone was stunned. A new one? Someone was dissatisfied. The road from the foot of the mountain to the entrance of the village had nothing to do with them. They didn't pass by there when they left the village. Some people quickly realized that the Gu family's house was at the foot of the mountain. Wasn't this convenient for her family? What kind of benevolence was this? Gu Yundong listened to them. On the other hand, Liang's forehead was covered in sweat. Damn it, he had been too full of himself just now. Unintentionally, he had set up a trap. The Gu girl. Gu Yundong, on the other hand, was very calm. She knew Liang's intentions. He wanted her to have a good reputation and increase her prestige. Calm Gu Yundong appreciated Liang's kindness, but her thoughts were different from Liang's. She did not need such prestige. In fact, such a reputation was a burden to her. Others would think that she had done a good deed and accept it as a matter of course. In the future, they would use other things to kidnap her morally. It was better to make everything clear. In any case, those who were smart would naturally be grateful to her when they experienced the benefits of the main road in the future. Those who wanted to take advantage of you and felt that you had not given them enough benefits would only push their luck and use your benevolence label to restrain you. Once you were a little unbenevolent, it would be wrong. Hence, she made it very clear. Since I'm the one paying to build the road, I'll naturally decide where it will be built. If I pay and work to build the road myself, and someone says that my horse shouldn't take that road and dirty the road, then I'm probably a fool, right? Someone laughed out loud. Many people knew who she was referring to. The woman who had been clamoring just now was furious, but she really did not dare to argue with her in front of Gu Yundong. After all, Gu Yundong's brutal manner of attacking without any explanation was too memorable. Gu Yundong continued. I'm not afraid to make it clear. This road is built to make it more convenient to travel. Of course, I won't stop everyone from walking just because I paid to build the road. If everyone feels that it's more convenient to walk on the main road, then take the main road. If you feel that it's not time-consuming to walk on the small road, then take the small road. It's just an additional road that will make it more convenient for everyone to drive ox carts, donkey carts, and carriages in the future. Someone thought, hey, isn't that so? Our family is planning to buy an ox recently. It will definitely be comfortable to drag the cart on the main road in the future. That's true. In the past, when we were pulling the cart to transport food, we kept bumping obstacles on the village road. It was too strenuous. Then when I go to the foot of the mountain to pick up firewood in the future, won't I be able to carry it directly to the village entrance from the main road? Yundong, is the main road straight? Will it take many turns? Gu Yundong replied with a smile. No, it's just a straight road. That's great. Our family is planning to buy a donkey cart. With the main road, I won't have to worry about my driving skills being bad. The discussion below was turning for the better. Although there were still some voices that made people uncomfortable, Liang still heaved a sigh of relief. Yundong waited for everyone to finish talking before continuing. Next, I need to hire 20 people to build the road. Anyone who is interested can sign up at the village chief's place. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 936, A Letter Hire? That was money. This was the real benefit that could be seen in front of him. Soon, the dissatisfied voices disappeared. Even the auntie who had been against Yundong from the beginning immediately wanted to sign up for her son. She could not wait to ask, "How much is the salary for a day?" However, Liang also had a temper. She was the one who opposed most just now. Now she still wanted to work? Dream on. He looked at the villagers and said, "Everyone, quiet down first. We have to make things here first. It's best if we finish building the road before the new year, so we want young and strong people who are diligent. Those who are too old or too little, don't come and join in the fun." It wasn't the time for farm work, and many people were resting at home. Some people went to town or county to do short-term jobs. However, it was not easy to find short-term jobs, so it was easy to find 20 young men in the village. Not long after, the village chief registered their names and told everyone that the salary for a day was 50 copper coins, no food included. Come everyone, work hard. The Gu family isn't the only one who can take this road. Everyone in our village can take it. This is a road built for ourselves, so everyone has to perk up and build this road for me. Do you hear me? I hear you. Don't worry, village chief. We definitely won't be slacking. That's right, that's right. Our village is getting better and better. In the future, there will definitely be more and more ox carts. Everyone can use this road. Seeing that everyone had such an understanding, Liang was relieved. He brought these 20 people to take a look at the positions and choose the leader. Unfortunately, Daning was not around. He was still renovating the houses in the prefectural city. Otherwise, it would be best for him to take the lead. However, there was also an experienced master who was good at building roads. It was the same for him to lead the way. Among these 20 people was He Shanchuan from the He family. There was nothing to do now. He Shanchuan originally wanted to enter the city to find work, but now that there was a job in the village, he did not have to make an extra trip. Yundong did not care much about what happened next. On the road construction matter, Liang was more concerned than her. He kept an eye on it early in the morning every day, as if he was afraid that something would happen. Fortunately, everyone was working hard and did not hesitate at all. Yundong bought a lot of sand and stones, and laid them flat on the ground. People wouldn't be afraid of mud on a rainy day. After building a part of the road, she specially let the carriage try it. As expected, it was much faster. After building the road for more than 20 days, it was almost done. At this moment, Yundong received Xiao Qingyuan's letter. This letter was to inform her that he was safe. Xiao Qingyuan said that he had arrived in the capital and met Song Dejiang. The entire journey was safe. He ate and slept well. He remembered her words firmly in his heart without any illness or pain. Yundong wanted to laugh when she read this, but the longing in her heart also spread. He had arrived in the capital so quickly, which meant that he must have been traveling at full speed. After reading the letter, she immediately picked up her brush and replied to him. She recounted what she had done these past few days, and also told him about the road construction in the village. In the end, she wished him a happy new year in advance and told him to take care of himself and come back soon. Although they had been separated for a few days, it was quite interesting to have letters. Yundong heaved a sigh of relief and felt much better. A month later, the road from the foot of the mountain to the entrance of the village was finally completed. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 937. Envious. Everyone in Yongfu village was overjoyed. No matter what, this was a road that belonged to their Yongfu village, and could allow 2 carriages to pass. This road was built before the new year. It was just nice for the relatives who visited after the new year. Everyone was excited. Even the people who had muttered their dissatisfaction on the meeting were very proud, especially when they went to their relatives' and friends' houses. Everyone mentioned this road, making the villagers of the other villages jealous. On the day the road was completed, almost the entire village came out to take a walk on this road. However, Liang stopped them. He bought firecrackers and placed them on a long bamboo pole. He got someone to light the primer and personally carried it all the way from the foot of the mountain to the entrance of the village. On this day, the entire Yongfu village was filled with joy, as if it was the new year in advance. Yundong was also very happy. She took a lot of fruits and snacks for the jumping children to eat. Kamyunka was very bold now. She swayed and actually wanted to follow behind Liang to set off firecrackers. Yundong was so frightened that she hurriedly carried her back. These firecrackers were blind. It would not be good if a child was injured. Many people from the neighboring village came to experience this main road. Even the workshop was suspended for 2 hours. Everyone came out to watch the fun. The main road was built outside their workshop. Wouldn't it be easier to commute in the future? Especially for the workers from other villages, they didn't have to worry about bumping into someone from the corner at night. They felt much safer. The main road was built, and many people were grateful to the Gu family. After all, it was really convenient. Furthermore, they could go to other villages to brag to others. The village chief of the neighboring village was so envious that his eyes turned red. Every time he met Liang, he would be very unhappy when he saw the guy's smug expression. You're just lucky. If the Gu family had settled in our village back then, you would be the one jealous of us now. Liang snorted. Forget it, there was a big road in his village. He would be magnanimous and not argue with such a pitiful person. There were unexpectedly many people walking on this new road. On the third day, Yundong also drove the carriage out of Yongfu village. It was almost the new year, and she planned to go to the county to buy things. Also, now that there were more people in the workshop, she had to buy New Year presents for everyone. The county city was lively again. The streets were filled with joy, and many stalls had already begun to sell couplets. Yundong looked away. There were 3 scholars in her family now. It was easy for them to write couplets. Her father would be back in a few days. It would be the same if he wrote them then. As she thought about it, she decided to buy some red words. Tong Shuitao came out with her. The two of them parked the carriage at Gus and shopped. When it was almost noon and their hands were full, they returned to Gus and put the things in the carriage. Yundong clapped her hands. Let's go eat first. We'll continue watching after that. Okay. The two of them were about to walk out when Zhuangzi hurriedly said, Boss, you guys rest for a while. I'll go straight to Jinxiu restaurant and bring the food back. There's no need to trouble yourself. Yundong nodded and Zhuangzi left in a hurry. After a while, a few voices suddenly came from the shop outside. Yundong and Tong Shuitao looked at each other. It did not sound like Zhuangzi. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 938. Embezzlement? Yundong lifted the curtain separating the shop and looked out. It was indeed not Zhuangzi's voice. At this moment, in the shop, other than the shop assistant, Chen Jinkai, there were 2 people standing in front of him. A man and a woman. Oh, and 2 familiar faces at that. Yundong, who was about to go out, stopped in her tracks and looked at the situation in the shop silently. This man and woman were Chen Yulan and Wu Chong. The last time she heard from Nie Shuang and the others that these 2 people had appeared at Liang's door, she told Liang about the matter. Liang snorted and said that he would pretend that he didn't know. After that, she didn't hear any news of the 2 of them going to the Chen family. She didn't expect them to come to Gus. Chen Yulan had a smile on her face. She looked at Chen Jinkai ingratiatingly. Brother. Chen Jinkai frowned. Why are you still here? Updated by NOVG. Ko Wuchong pursed his lips and didn't say anything. He stood at the side with his hands folded. Only Chen Yulan smiled dryly and said to Chen Jinkai, Brother, have you considered what we talked about last time? Consider. Chen Jinkai sneered. He felt that it was unbelievable. I remember that I rejected you at that time. When did I say that I would consider? Big brother, don't say that. We really have no choice. The Wu family's shop doesn't have much business now. If this continues, it will close soon. The Wu family's shop was a small grocery store in town. It used to have a good business, so the Wu family always acted arrogantly. They looked down on country bumpkins like the Chen family. If Chen Jinkai hadn't been the manager of a workshop in town, he wouldn't have married Chen Yulan. But now the grocery store's business was getting worse and worse. At the end of the day, it was also very related to the Chen family. Jingyuan town wasn't very big to begin with, and Niudon matter had caused a storm in the city. Even the families near the grocery store learned about this matter, and knew that his mother had slandered Niudan for stealing. News of this spread like wildfire. Not long after, the grocery store's business plummeted. Many people said that they did not dare to enter the shop to buy things, afraid that they would be slandered as thieves. As it happened, a few days ago, there was another grocery store that opened opposite Wu's. That family was good at doing business. In contrast, almost no one entered the Wu family shop. During this period of time, the Wu family had been eating their old money. They did not have any income from the shop, and the entire family was very worried. Then they started to complain to each other. The house was in chaos every day. At this moment, Chen Yulan thought of the Chen family. Brother, please help us. There are no shops in town who sell this kind of white sugar. If we get first place, our business will definitely improve. When the grocery store survives the crisis, we will definitely visit you personally to thank you, okay? Chen Jinkai sneered. Everyone is limited to 5 caddies of white sugar a day at Gus. As long as you take the money, I can sell it to you. Chen Yulan's face stiffened. Brother, are you kidding me? How can 5 caddies be enough? Besides, the white sugar in your shop is too expensive. Can you sell it to us at a cheaper price? 30 caddies a day? I'll buy some delicious food for sister-in-law and nephew later, okay? Chen Jinkai was so angry that he was about to laugh. Okay, my ass. You have a good plan. 15 kilograms a day, and you want it to be cheaper? How are you so capable? Are you asking me to embezzle the goods in the shop? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 939. You will be the shopkeeper. Chen Yulan laughed dryly. Brother, don't say that. We're family. We're just helping each other. Brother, I'm your biological sister. If you don't help me, I really won't be able to live. As she spoke, sadness welled up in her heart. Tears were about to fall. Biological sister? You still have the cheek to say that? Back then, when Nyo Dan was slandered by your mother-in-law, why didn't you say that we were biological siblings? When my father came to seek an explanation, you still kept slandering Nyo Dan. Why didn't you say that we were biological siblings? Let me tell you, our families have long cut ties. Let alone biological siblings, we won't even be strangers in the future. For a moment, Chen Yulan was embarrassed by his scolding. Her face turned pale, and there was a faint anger rising in her. However, when she thought of her current situation, she suppressed it ruthlessly. On the other hand, Wu Chong, who had been silent all this while, snorted coldly and said to Chen Yulan, I knew it was useless to beg him, but you just didn't listen and insisted on coming over to get scolded. Don't you see that he's just a small shop assistant? He's just an errand boy who carries goods. There's a rascal shopkeeper above him. What can he do? What dare he do? Chen Jinkai suddenly looked at him. Yes, you're right. I'm just a little buddy. I can't do anything. So please don't come to my door again in the future. Hurry up and leave. Get lost. Get lost. Don't appear in front of me in the future. With that, he pushed the two of them out. Chen Yulan still wanted to say something, but Chen Jinkai didn't give them a chance at all. His face was full of impatience. However, just as the two of them were about to be pushed out of the door, Shuangzi returned. Updated by Inoviji. Kohi was still holding a food box in his hand. When he saw the three of them, he was stunned for a moment. Then he frowned and said, Chen Jinkai, what's wrong with you? Who asked you to chase the guests away? Chen Jinkai stopped in his tracks. Even Gu Yundong raised her eyebrows. Tong Shuitao, who was at the side, whispered, "What's wrong with Zhuangzi? Doesn't he know Chen Yulan? He already knows that she's not a good person. Yet he's still helping her. Don't tell me he's deliberately finding trouble with Chen Jinkai?" Gu Yundong waved her hand. "Just watch." Actually, the 3-month trial that she had agreed on with Zhuangzi had been over. However, it was almost the new year. In addition, Lan Hua would be getting married soon, so he might as well wait for another 2 months and go to the prefectural city with Jiang Bao after the new year. Therefore, Zhuangzi was still the shopkeeper of Gus' shop, but he stayed in the backyard most of the time and let Chen Jinkai take charge. But Gu Yundong had a vague feeling that Zhuangzi might have postponed the time because he was addicted to being a shopkeeper. Chen Yulan was a little flustered because of Zhuangzi's arrival. They had actually been standing outside the shop for a long time. After confirming that Zhuangzi was not around, they came in to look for Chen Jinkai. Unexpectedly, Zhuangzi returned at this critical juncture. On the other hand, Wu Chong was a little happy. Anyway, the matter couldn't be done, and Chen Jinkai didn't give them any face at all, and wanted to chase them away. Naturally, he was happy to see Zhuangzi reprimanding Chen Jinkai. Therefore, he seemed to have a common enemy and added, "That's right. Who gave you the guts to chase the customers out? It's not that I want to say this, but your shop assistant's attitude is a little too bad." Zhuangzi nodded. "That's right. What right does a small shop assistant like you have to chase a guest away? If you want to chase someone away, it should be the shopkeeper. After I leave and you become the shopkeeper, it will be your turn to do this. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 940. A warning beforehand. Gu Yundong. Tong Shuitao. The other 3 people in the shop were speechless. Wu Chong was the first to react. He suddenly looked up at Zhuangzi. You're leaving after the new year?" Then he pointed at Chen Jinkai. "He's here to be the shopkeeper?" The shop assistant was very different from the shopkeeper. Updated by Av. The entire shop was run by the shopkeeper, and the accounts were also managed by the shopkeeper. When dealing with customers, it was also the shopkeeper, let alone the salary. Wu Chong suddenly looked at Chen Jinkai. "Are you going to be the shopkeeper of Gus after the new year?" Chen Jinkai sneered. "This is our shop's business. What does it have to do with you? Hurry up and leave." "Didn't I tell you? The shop assistant can't chase the customers away, but I can." Zhuangzi interrupted him and stuffed the food box into his hand. Then he waved his hands. "Go, hurry up and leave. If you don't leave, I'll beat you with a broom." "Hey you," Wu Chong was furious. At this moment, Jiang Bao, who was next door, also came over to help. He held 2 large brooms in his hands, and threw them to Zhuangzi. After that, the 2 of them swept Chen Yulan and Wu Chong away like they were sweeping trash. Wu Chong was still a little indignant. He still wanted to ask if Chen Jinkai would be the shopkeeper of Gus after the new year. If that was the case, wouldn't he have offended him for nothing? Updated by Inoviji. For a moment he regretted it. It was Chen Jinkai's fault for not making things clear. If he had told him earlier, the 2 families would not have fallen out so badly. Chen Yulan was even more vexed. Her eldest cousin was about to become a shopkeeper. Moreover, he was the shopkeeper in the county city. He was much more dignified than the manager of the town. She heard that Gus was now in the prefectural city. In that case, would eldest cousin still be able to go to the prefectural city in the future? The couple had different thoughts, but neither of them could stay and talk. It really hurt when the broom hit them. Coupled with the pointing by the passers-by, the 2 of them quickly buried their heads and ran. Zhuangzi snorted and returned the broom to Jiang Bao before returning to the shop. Chen Jinkai looked at him speechlessly. "Why did you tell them that I'm going to be a shopkeeper after the new year? Would they give up? Won't they know if we don't tell them? They'll have to know sooner or later. I might as well tell them now. At least I can give you a hand if they come again." Gu Yundong opened the curtain and walked out. What Zhuangzi said makes some sense. It doesn't matter if you say it earlier or later. "Boss." Chen Jinkai was a little ashamed. "I caused you trouble." "This isn't trouble. Who doesn't have a few annoying relatives? You've already cut ties with them. but they're still shameless enough to come knocking on your door. This can only mean that they're thick-skinned. However, I have to remind you in advance. You have to know this in your heart. If you really can't resist their threats and temptations and harm the interests of Gus, I won't be polite either. When the time comes, not only will you be fired, but I won't even hire your brother either. Although it was a little inhumane to do so, Gu Yundong had to explain the seriousness of the matter to him. As expected, Chen Jinkai immediately put on a serious expression. Don't worry, boss. Not to mention that we have cut ties now. Even if we are close, I won't do such a heinous thing. That's good. Gu Yundong believed this. After all, Chen Jinkai had reminded him that someone wanted to harm her mother. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 941. Follow-up. Gu Yundong did not care about this matter anymore. She left it all to Chen Jinkai to it. However, the Wu family was after her shop, so Gu Yundong still paid some attention to this matter. It was said that Chen Yulan and her husband hadn't come to the shop since that day. However, they were secretly asking if Chen Jinkai would become the shopkeeper. Unfortunately, not many people knew about this matter. They could not obtain any substantial information. Hence, they could only ask around if Zhuangzi would go to the prefectural city after the new year. Many people knew about this. After all, many things had to be arranged before Zhuangzi left. After obtaining the exact news, they were no longer in a hurry. They seemed to want to wait until Chen Jinkai became the shopkeeper before persuading him. Updated by Av. Ko. However, the Chen family had to be visited. It was said that on the second day of the Lunar New Year, Chen Yulan came to visit with the members of the Wu family. However, Chen Liang did not have a good impression of their family, and did not even let them in. However, the Wu family refused to leave, especially Auntie Wu. She cried and repented outside, causing many people to go out to watch the commotion. It would not be a big deal if the villagers saw this. After all, many people knew about the grudge between the two families. However, it was the new year, and many families had relatives and friends as guests. They could not afford to lose face. Therefore, Chen Liang could only invite her in. Once she entered, Auntie Wu apologized sincerely. She apologized to Chen Liang and his wife, to Chen Jinbao and his wife, and even to Niu Dan. One could tell at a glance that she regretted her actions, and had turned over a new leaf. In addition, the other members of the Wu family had also humbled themselves. It was the new year, so no one could say anything cold or hard. Moreover, Chen Yulan was the only daughter of Chen Liang's younger brother. Hearing her mention her father when he was alive, Chen Liang could not help but feel a little guilty. Seeing that his parents' attitude had softened, Chen Jinkai was furious. Updated by NOVG. Ko. He thought that Chen Yulan and her husband would look for him in the shop. He didn't expect them to have designs on his family. He exposed their purpose on the spot. Chen Yulan denied it, but Chen Liang naturally believed in his son. He immediately stood up and threw out all the things they had brought, and drove the Wu family out, regardless of whether the people outside would laugh at him. The Wu family was embarrassed and was furious with the Chen family. Moreover, Chen Liang's words were very ruthless. He said in front of his relatives and neighbors, "In the future, this family has nothing to do with the Chen family. In the future, if they enter the village, chase them out." It was said that the Wu family had never appeared in Yongfu village again. Of course, this was all in the future. At this moment, Gu Yundong and Tong Shuitao were still resting in the shop. After lunch, they went to the street to buy things again. New clothes for the new year had already been prepared, so there was no need to buy them. Firecrackers and fireworks were still needed, especially fireworks. The children especially liked to watch them. They had already bought the lanterns, paper scissors, and red candles in the morning. They had to prepare melon seeds, peanuts, dried goods, tea, and drinks first. Sweets and fruits were available at home. As for the rice cake, tofu and dumplings, she could slowly make them in the next few days. She could buy and kill the chicken, duck, and fish before the new year. With this in mind, her family's New Year goods were almost ready. Next, it was time to prepare something else. Gu Yundong brought Tong Shuitao into a clothing store. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 942. Annual Party and Lottery. Tong Shuitao found it strange. Miss, haven't you almost bought everything? Why are we going to the cloth shop? Isn't the workshop going to rest in 2 days? It's time to prepare New Year presents for them. This year, the workshop would stop a few days earlier than last year, so everyone could prepare early for the new year. After all, there were many workers in the workshop this year and they were busy all day. There was enough stock, so it did not matter if they were given a holiday a few days in advance. Tong Shuitao was enlightened. That's right. Last year, Miss also sent a large cart of New Year goods. She had heard that many people in the workshop were looking forward to this day. They were already secretly guessing if she would continue to distribute meat and cloth this year. Updated by Av.co, especially the newcomers this year. They were all asking the short-term workers last year. But Mississippi. Tong Shuitao suddenly frowned and said awkwardly, "Will it still be a big piece of pork for each person this year? But it's already afternoon, and there's not much meat at the meat stall. Our workshop has more than 100 people. There's no hurry. I'll get Tongan to come over and buy it later. There are more than 100 people. I'm afraid we have to order 2 big fat pigs in advance. Let's buy the things we want for the annual party today." Tong Shuitao was stunned, and confusion flashed across her face. Annual party? Miss, what is an annual party? It is the last gathering before the new year. We'll eat together, chat, play games, and so on. Of course, there was also the lucky draw. Yundong was very happy to hold such a New Year celebration to make everyone happy. They had worked hard for an entire year. On the last day, they could relax and then go home happily to celebrate the new year. At this moment, what she wanted to buy was the prize for the lucky draw. Tong Shuitao became excited, and her face turned slightly red. Miss, you're saying that more than 100 people will be eating and chatting together? How spectacular is that? Updated by Inovg. Co-spectacular? The corners of Yundong's mouth twitched. Looking at Tong Shuitao's excited expression, she seemed to be looking forward to it. Yundong quickly bought the goods and returned to Yongfu village with Tong Shuitao. Before leaving, she said to Zhuangzi and Chen Jinkai, "You guys close early on the 26th. Go back to the village, and let's have a meal together." The two of them were at a loss. A meal? However, the two of them immediately nodded, indicating that they would go back early. On the other hand, Tong Shuitao winked at the two of them before she left, looking mysterious, making the two of them even more confused. The carriage quickly drove into Yongfu village. With the new road, it was much easier for the carriage to travel. There were still many people on the road. The road had been built for a few days, but the villagers still seemed to have not walked enough. They had to pass through this road, no matter where they went. It did not matter if they took a long detour. Yundong did not know whether to laugh or cry. She did not look at the people outside anymore and hurried home to unload the goods. The next day, the Gu family started making rice cakes. On the third day, in the evening of the 25th, Gu Dajiang brought Gu Dafeng and the others back from the prefectural city. Gu Dajiang was stunned when he saw the new village road. Although Chen Jinbao and the others had already mentioned this when they were delivering the goods to the prefectural city, he couldn't help but be shocked when he saw it with his own eyes. This was his daughter's road. It was his daughter's credit. At that moment, Gu Dajiang's heart surged with indescribable pride. Gu Dafeng was also sitting in the carriage. Looking at the spacious road, she sighed and introduced it to Bianhan excitedly. This road originally didn't exist. When I left last time, this place was still very narrow. There was even a courtyard in front. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 943. The Gu family distributes New Year gifts again. Bianhan felt that his eyes were not enough. One moment, he was staring at the ground, and the next moment, he looked into the distance in the direction Gu Dafeng was pointing. His legs were much better now. Although he couldn't shake them yet, it wasn't to the extent that he couldn't move. It was just that in order to take care of his leg, while it originally only took a day to return from the prefectural city, In the end, it took 2 days. Let me tell you, don't be too surprised when you see the house later. Our Yundong built the house very well. It's especially spacious and beautiful. Whoever sees it will like it. Gu Dafeng whispered into his ear to remind him. After all, the first time she came, she was stunned when she saw the green brick-tiled house. Updated by Av. Kobe and Han smiled and nodded. She had told him this many times. Not long after, the carriage arrived at the entrance of the Gu residence. However, even though Bien Han was mentally prepared, he was still stunned when he saw the house in front of him. It was his fault, for not knowing enough. He heard that this house was built after Yundong fled to Yongfu village. This girl was really capable. Seeing his stunned expression, Gu Dafeng sniggered. Then, she got out of the carriage, took the wheelchair from Lu Sheng, and pushed it in front of him. This time, the 4 members of the Lu family also came back. The small courtyard was locked, and Gu Dajiang asked his neighbor to help keep an eye on it. There weren't many valuable items there, and the security there was good. There were many scholars, and there were often people patrolling, so he wasn't too worried. Gu Yundong stood at the door and welcomed them in. Updated by Inovg. Co-father, are we still going to the academy after the new year? Gu Dajiang shook his head. I'm not going. Just stay at home and prepare for the exam. Teacher also said that it's not a big problem. He told me not to worry too much, nor do I need to travel back and forth. It's a waste of time. If there was really something he didn't understand, he could ask Qin Wenzheng. Gu Yundong knew what was going on. Gu Dajiang asked her about the road construction, and Xiao Qingyuan. Seeing that he was endless, Gu Dafeng couldn't help but pat him. You just came back. Aren't you tired? Can't you rest well first and talk another day? Gu Dajiang coughed lightly and didn't ask further. Everyone quickly finished eating, washed up, and went to rest. The next day was the 26th, and the workshop had stopped for the day. Early in the morning, Tongan went to get meat. There were a lot of people, and each of them had 2 caddies of meat. 2 pigs were barely enough. However, there was still a gathering tonight, and Tongan still needed at least half a pig. For a butcher's shop, this was a huge order. They had prepared the pork in advance, and even cut it one by one. They guaranteed that every piece of meat weighed 2 caddies, no more no less. Tongan took the meat and bought a lot of vegetables. When they returned to the village, many people saw them. The cart was filled with things, and they could not help but stare. Someone swallowed his saliva. Why did the Gu family suddenly buy so much meat? Are they preparing for the new year? This is too much. Why don't you take a look at how many people there are in the Gu family now? There are more than 10 servants. There's no need for so much, right? You guys are really ignorant. I think this meat must be for the workers in the workshop. What? Then that person also remembered. Wasn't it almost the new year? Last year, the Gu family was also very generous. Everyone was given a lot of things and happily carried them home for the new year. Envy, jealousy, and hatred. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible.